Hello again, everybody, and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Barely There podcast, and we are live tonight with a packed show. We're going to talk about the overs and unders in Vegas. Do we believe the NFC North is still a top division? Can they run this thing? We're going to touch on that SI article, and we're going to go through a 94-yard drive, 2-minute drill at practice today. The offense clicked today for the Bears. We're going to get into that just a little bit right after this. Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the show. As I said, we got a packed house, but of course, I got to check on my boys and see how they're doing. How we doing today, Jay? How we doing today, Kyle?
Good, man. We did a lot of research for today's show. I'm kind of excited for it. It's our first, gambling show, which is kind of nice. It's an easy one. You know, you don't have to be really deep into betting to understand how to bet what we're going to show you here today. I think it's going to be fun. But otherwise, I'm doing great. I had a good weekend. What about you guys? Kyle, what's going on, buddy?
Doing all right, man. Just dealing with a lot of drama, the shoulder injury, a bunch of other stuff. You guys know everything that's going on. But besides that, man, I'm healthy. I'm alive. I'm all right. Sean, yourself?
Oh, it was a busy day. I didn't get to study much today, but I'm going to roll right off the top of my dome here.
You're an encyclopedia, dude. No problem.
We'll see what we can muster up. We got the Cubbies 0-0 in the bottom of the sixth. Gore and Boyd are going pitch for pitch. It's actually quite fantastic if you like a pitching matchup. Hopefully the Cubs can win this series or win this game and take the series. But they squandered that first. I don't know if you were watching that first inning, Kyle. They loaded the bases, three singles back to back, and got nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, not to take this show in a different direction, Sean, but 50 pitches through the sixth, or start with one out in the sixth inning is insane.
Yeah, what you call it?
Boyd's having like 3-pitch innings.
Dude, his first 2 innings, he got his first 2 outs on 3 pitches. Dude, the first hitter skied it to right, and then next 2 pitches, I think it was a ground out or something. It's pretty crazy. But, hey, we need him. Keep this bullpen fresh. We got 26 games in 26 days, so let's keep the bullpen fresh and keep the starters out there as long as we can. All right, we're going to flip the script back to the lakefront. What's going on at Halas Hall? From all accounts today, the offense did click at OTAs. And the Bears had the first team offense had a successful 94-yard 2-minute drive versus the Bears defense today. You always say the defense is supposed to be ahead of the offense, but hopefully, the offense is gaining that advantage. And it ended up with a touchdown pass from Caleb Williams to the rookie 7th-round draft pick, Kyle Monangai. Williams also made a nice throw on the run to Zacchaeus for about 36 yards. On that drive, Jonathan Owens did almost have 2 picks. He dropped one, and one went off of his off of his hands. Excuse me. The other takeaway was Ozzie Trapilo. He is not only at left tackle again, but apparently he's turning heads. And folks, this is what we can say. I can say, and I want to get your guys' opinion, because he is a 2nd-round pick. He looks. And he's playing the part early in OTAs. I know there's no pads on or anything like that, but again, he is turning heads. If you do have to start him, would it not be a great time next to an all-pro potential Hall of Famer in Joe Thuney to get this youngster started in week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings? What are your thoughts about what's going on at OTAs right now? And before I turn it over, I just want to say I love that traffic drill that Antoine Randall L is throwing. And if you guys didn't see the film, he's also drilling some passes. That boy's got an arm on him still. He was hitting them, and they had these pads set up, these dummy blockers, and he's ripping them in between them. The Bears receivers are trying to rip the balls through these. It's an awesome drill. I've never seen it before. But back to Ozzie Trapilo. What are your guys' thoughts? Minnesota looking like, man, maybe I thought it was crazy talk, but maybe it's not. Maybe this guy is going to be the starter opening day.
Hey, look, I'll tell you what. The ideal is that everybody at left tackle that they're trying out turns out to be a stud. My problem with this early in the OTAs and making a decision one way or the other is that, our defensive ends aren't like super stellar either, right? They're not playing against Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett. We don't know exactly how good they are. You're in half pads, like, maybe a helmet and some light shoulder pads, and that's it. And it's more slapping, no tackling, no hitting. It's more learning than it is anything else. Defenses are going to do better. I think what they're trying to say is that he's doing well for a second-round pick. Now, I will say that Ozzie Trapillo, and from what I've learned, most tackles, if you're a right tackle, a lot of guys will work out in the offseason at left tackle or vice versa because if their body, they want to develop evenly. It also helps with their availability. I mean, if you could play either position. But it really is more of a workout thing. They'll work on their kick steps on the left side and the right side. They try to even things out so they're back to the season. Everything is working as it should. So, I don't know. I'd love to see him do well, but honestly, the ideal is maybe he or Kieran starts, and then you got Braxton as a swing tackle. But Braxton, when he comes back, might be doing well also. I mean, ideally, I want all of them to do well because that means we're starting to develop depth on the offensive line. But other than that, hey, awesome. I'm glad he doesn't suck. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right. Kyle, what are your thoughts on this new development?
Well, real quick, let's just say what's up to the chat, guys. Thanks for joining us, DJ Prophet. Thanks for joining us, Lindsay, Break News, Bruce, Erica. We appreciate you guys. Please feel free to comment during the show. We'll try to get to as many of them as we possibly can. DJ Prophet says right here, guys, Ozzie has the most draft capital, and most likely he will end up starting based off of his cost.
Very possible.
If nothing else. Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before. I mean,
sure.
By default, if they're all exactly even, nobody stands out head and shoulders above the rest, he should be your starter considering he was a second-round pick, and he probably has the most potential or the highest.
You have the most investment in him at that point.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Sean, I mean, it's good to hear. Ozzie Trapillo, to me, was the prototypical left tackle, right tackle. He looks like a tackle in the NFL when you look at him. I think he was better than people gave him credit for when the Bears made that pick. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked it a lot. I think Ozzie Trapillo could be your starting left tackle day one. We saw Braxton Jones do it as a fifth-round pick 3 years ago. I think Ozzie Trapillo is probably a better player than he is, or going to end up being a better player than he is. What's up, John? Thanks for joining the show. But yeah, definitely good to hear. I know he did give up a sack, but you're going to see that this guy's learning an NFL offense for the first time in his entire life. He's a rookie. He's probably incredibly overwhelmed right now. There's
left tackle, not right tackle.
Yeah, and we heard Ben Johnson say, hey, we're putting a lot on these guys right now, man. There's going to be mistakes made. These guys are learning a lot in a very short amount of time. And I think best case scenario for the Chicago Bears is Ozzie Trapillo is your starting left tackle and is better than Braxton Jones. He doesn't have to be the best starting left tackle in football. He's just got to be better than Braxton Jones. That's it. And I don't think that's asking a lot. No disrespect to Braxton Jones. He's a serviceable left tackle in the NFL, but I think he'd be better served as a backup or, like Jason said, a swing tackle. I think Ozzie Trapillo has starter potential written all over him, especially because it's just based off of his size. And the fact that he already kind of moves like an NFL tackle. If you watch his college highlights, guys, he's very good lateral movement. He's very good at picking up studs. He's very good at just knowing how to play the game of football. He's
had college reps at left tackle, too. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
And his footwork and his college highlights looks very, very good. He looks like he knows how to play the position, and I think he looked better than Kurana Magaji did coming in. So I mean, that's all you can ask for at this point in the off season. They haven't done a lot. And like Jason said, these guys haven't been wearing pads yet. So it's tough to judge. But if the coaches are saying that he looks good there, that's all we can go off of, and that's good to hear for sure.
Right.
Yeah, the one quote that I took away today, and I can't remember, maybe it was Zach Pearson. I can't remember who wrote it, but they said Ozzie was back with the ones today and had a very nice practice. He goes, pads aren't on, obviously, but this guy looks not like a common rookie. So that's really awesome to hear. There was a couple of we've been talking about this new Bears, accountability that's there. I'm going to play a couple of quotes here really quick from Ben Johnson that I thought were really awesome today, because I'm just going to say Ben Johnson, he's keeping it 100, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Caleb at the end of 7 on. I feel like there was a teaching moment with Caleb at the end of 7 on, or that last 7-on-7 where he went to the flat for Roshan. What were you trying to? Was he supposed to go somewhere else with that? Did you see something?
No, he was late. He needs to get there faster.
How was he responding in those sorts of moments?
Awesome. yeah, he's doing a great job. He's very coachable, and it's like anything. It's a new play, and so we're just communicating what the expectations are, and we want to see it show up on the tape.
I love the honesty.
I feel that there was
Yeah.
a teaching moment with Caleb at the end of 7.
Oh, that replayed itself. Sorry.
No, I love the honesty. Yep, he was late.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what it was. He was late.
Yeah, and you guys, so far, all we've heard out of, and when it comes to rookie OTAs and mandatory minicamp, is accountability. Ben Johnson, I don't know if you guys heard the interview where, I don't know, it was a sports writer who wrote it on. It was on Twitter. He said that after Cole Kmet screwed up, Ben Johnson screamed a very loud, explicit word, and Cole Kmet did not take it so well. Like, hey, guess what, man? You screw up in the end. You're getting paid millions of dollars. This is it's supposed to be a well-oiled machine.
You're a veteran.
It's got to be precision. It's all about timing. You
That
screw
was
up, they're going to let
Kmet's
you know.
interview, Kyle. That was the interview yesterday. He
Well,
called
and
himself out.
Mark Grody also wrote it on.
Was it Grody?
Mark Grody was there at practice. He also wrote it on his Twitter that, like, Ben Johnson is not screwing around, man. He said sometimes some of these guys, it's better to call them out in front of the rest of the team. Some of them you have to have one-on-one meetings.
Yeah, don't beat a guy down. But
some of them you got to call them out in front of the rest of the team, and that's nice to see and nice to hear. I think these players are kind of it's like almost a culture shock right now, right, guys? Like we're so used to doing whatever we want and nobody says anything that they almost feel insulted. But in the long run, they'll learn to live with it, and they'll become better football players in turn. So I'm happy, Sean. Everything I've heard, I mean, especially with guys like Eric Bieniemy, Al Harris, these guys are absolutely relentless, and they are not accepting mistakes. And
here, I don't want to.
Isn't that what the players were asking for?
Yes, exactly.
And I don't want to say, oh, he's on that level yet. But when you look at great coaches like McVay and O'Connell and some of these guys, this is exactly the book they're reading. Their accountability, honesty. It's refreshing at Halas Hall to hear this, because I don't know the last time we have, to be honest. Ditka, maybe. Lovey was kind of soft-spoken and beat around the bush, and every coach since has been that way. This is new, I think, for all of us. And if you listen to these OTA interviews, they had DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and I'm forgetting one from yesterday. All of those guys, those interviews yesterday were just like, man, this is real. Like, they're holding us accountable. Things go wrong. They're making us fix it. They're yelling at us. They're beating us down. This is, man, I'm stoked, dude, because we heard about it. We've talked about it, but now we're seeing it. We're living it. And man, is that refreshing.
Yeah. And I think the honesty and the accountability with the media is also there. It's not like, look, when he calls out a guy like Caleb and a guy like Cole Kmet, the guys that were leaders on the team, one of the 74 captains we had last year, the other players are going to look at that and say, hey, look, if they're going to call out these guys with the big contracts, then they're going to call me out too. So I'm definitely, I don't want to be called out, right? If they're going to call out Caleb and Cole, they're definitely calling me out if I'm Za Frazier or Noah Sewell or whoever it is. That shit, I don't want that. I'm going to try harder, and that's sometimes all it takes. Now, you don't want to beat a guy down, but if a guy makes a mistake, make a mistake. Call him out on it.
Yeah, and John S., Erica, Breaking News, Bruce, Scottish Beer, you guys, you step up your game, because this comment right here by DJ Prophet is absolutely amazing. I love it. Ben Johnson is the ultimate combination of analytical mind and a football guy. A genius with grit does not come around very often. Yeah, a lot of people, when they hired Ben Johnson, their concerns were like, they were guys who were screaming for Mike Vrabel, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll. Their concerns were, is he a leader of men? Which, most people who talked about couldn't even define you what that was. But
exactly,
if they're talking about a guy who is tough and hard on people and doesn't care about feelings and is here to make sure this team gets better regardless of how the players react or respond. Ben Johnson has proven throughout these first 2 months of the offseason that he is that guy 100%. He doesn't care.
Buddy Ryan was like one of the hardest dudes on the planet, and everybody on that 85 Bears, everybody who's ever really played for him, but especially that 85 Bears defense, those guys would all die for Buddy Ryan. If they could, like, hey, buddy, I'll die for you, dude. No problem.
Yeah,
like,
and there's certain situations in life which you got to be careful when you're trying to instill fear to make people do better.
It's a different world than it was.
But when you're talking about guys in the NFL who play a violent sport for a living, and these guys have violence in their persona, it's part of who they are. Yeah, you got to be kind of mean. And Ben Johnson's not afraid to do that. And I like the fact that he's stern. He's said numerous times now in his interviews, like, hey, guys, the most important position on the field is the quarterback. This all starts with Caleb Williams, and that's the only way it's going to work. So I'm always going to be toughest on Caleb, always. And him and I have to see the offense the exact same way through the exact same lens every single play. If we don't, that's when things start to get screwed up. Now, he's also said that he likes to see Caleb do the innovative stuff where he kind of just makes things happen when the play breaks down, and he doesn't want to take that away from him. For the most part, Caleb and Ben Johnson should see the field the exact same way at the start of every single play.
Please, if that happens, then we're fine. Everything is fine. Record, if that's the only thing that happens this year and we lose, who cares? If they're starting to see eye to eye, we only win 7 games, 8 games, but Caleb throws for 4,100 yards. He's got 28 touchdowns. The offense looks good. We just got beat by better teams. Like, great, awesome, because next year is going to be fun.
Yeah,
and
Sean,
John,
you want to read this comment real quick? This is a good one by Scottish Barrier.
Oh, I was going to touch on that. We'll come back to that, John S. No, we'll come. I just wanted to, just really quick for John. I just want to say,
100%, John.
Let's be careful. We haven't seen one game yet. I'm not judging his performance. I'm judging what I'm seeing right now. And what I'm seeing right now is something that I haven't seen at Halas Hall in a very long time. And to me, it's impressive and very reminiscent of some of the other coaches that get quality results out of their ball clubs, especially when you look at a guy like Sean McVay, who I think
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
Yep. They get less out of more. And McVay, I'm using McVay because he got a lot out of a little last year when everyone thought that team was just going to muddle around and not be much. Man, they were competitive in every ball game they were in. That guy had that team prepared and ready. He turned those rookies into stars by the end of the season. And I'm starting to get those vibes from Ben Johnson, and I'm not going to oversell him. I'm just saying this is what I'm feeling in my heart and in my soul right now.
Yeah, and you know what? An NFL coach cannot be afraid to be intimidating. And you know what? You guys, Sean, the fact that you just said the word you just said is perfect. You've never seen this before. This is different because the Bears, our entire lives, have been this team that does the same thing over and over and expects a different result. Even if this doesn't work, guys, at least we can say they're trying. At least they're doing something different for once in our lives to say, like you guys, what we've been doing here, the Matt Nagy's, the Matt Eberflus's, the John Fox's of the world, these guys who don't hold people accountable, not very good leader of men, have not.
Do you think Belichick was easy on any of those Patriots teams?
Yeah, any of those all the great coaches we've seen throughout the years, almost, I'm going to say 96% of them have this ferocious side to them where you're like, oh man, I wouldn't want to piss that guy. I wouldn't want that guy to be my boss. That would be severely uncomfortable. It looks like Ben Johnson has that side to him. Now, we've seen coaches like Lovie Smith work in the NFL who aren't really rah-rah guys. They're kind of players, coaches. They tend to console people and talk to people one-on-one rather than calling them out in front of the rest of the team. Players aren't afraid to make mistakes because they don't think they're going to be embarrassed. Ben Johnson's not that guy. He's not that guy. He's going to embarrass you. And I like Scottish Bear's commentary. He says, Ben Johnson's transparency is so refreshing. The key is, can Ben Johnson do it when adversity strikes? That's the key. Yeah, I agree 100%. And there's only one way to find out, Scottish Bear. There's only one way to find out. We got to wait till we get some pads on and see some real football.
Yeah, and Brisker was back today, and his post presser after practice today, he talked about all he went through with his concussions he said he had to reteach his brain things. Catching balls.
That interview was so informed. The concussion stuff is insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy. This guy went to a doctor in a different country.
Yeah, but they're paying attention now to the finest possible symptoms. So it's not like he may be walking around fine. Like you're like, dude, you have a concussion. What are you talking about? But they'll do muscle skills and hand-eye coordination tests, and they'll do everything they possibly can. MRIs, whatever it is. If something is there, sorry, you're not done yet. They're not going to take on those lawsuits now. So I think the awareness for players is great because for me, that's the one thing in sports that forever they didn't really look at. When you got a bad knee, right? Everybody knows if you got a bad knee. But if you got a bad brain, you don't know until it's too late.
I'm with you, John.
I'm seeing it a lot, so I'm glad that everything's going better for him.
I'm definitely with you, John.
Yeah, and just everything that's going on it's so refreshing. Ben Johnson talked about it. Brisker did hit Rome Odunze late today, and the offense did not take it well. They took offense to it, and they all kind of attacked Brisker a little bit. With DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift kind of came and stood up for Rome Odunze. And what did Ben Johnson say in his presser? He said, "Listen, this is football. These guys are violent. These guys hit each other hard. You can tell Jaquan Brisker loves the game of football. He plays full speed all the time. This is who he is. He's never going to change." And I like the fact that he's kind of chatty on the football field. I like it. Those are my favorite players. That's Ben Johnson came out and said it. Like, I like to see that competitiveness in these guys, and I wish more of these guys had it. And that's, you just got to learn how to hone it in. You got to learn how to control it. And I think Ben Johnson's the perfect candidate to learn how to do that, especially with a guy like Jaquan Brisker who keeps knocking himself out. Like, hey, Jaquan, maybe instead of 100%, 99.9%.
Yeah, 95 sometimes is good, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's really nice? There's no acronyms. There's no like anything special. It's not the BU. It's not the HITS principle. It's literally just this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to do it. I don't have a name for it. It's just this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. That I like. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
DJ Profits over here killing an oversell. He said we cannot oversell him more than his peers have. Rex Ryan calls him the new Bill Walsh with how innovative Ben Johnson is in today's game of football. Hey, man.
Good point.
Yeah, like I love the summer, but I cannot wait for September to get here so I can see this product on the field, man. Like, I am so stoked, like over the moon, man. Like,
Sean, that Monday drive back after guys' weekend is going to be fast. And then,
do you guys know how many summers I've missed because they've passed me by? I was just waiting for football. You're like, the night before Christmas when you were a kid, you wait for Christmas morning. That's what I start doing for the NFL season. The second the NFL season ends, I'm like,
I know.
Did the summer just pass by? I can't wait. This is the most excited I've been ever as a Bears fan. And whether Ben Johnson turns out to be a good head coach or not, guys, nobody can take away the fact that this guy's innovative. That's not even a question. It doesn't. If you have a brain in your head and you watch football, Ben Johnson is one of the most innovative minds in the game of football. So whether he succeeds or not, you're going to see stuff you've never seen as a Chicago Bears fan. That's going to be fun to watch.
It's universal, by the way. This is not just us Bears fans, meatheads saying this. Whole league, and all the analysts, all the talk shows, everybody's saying Ben Johnson is that good. So,
and if you're looking at something that I put it out a long time ago that some people told me wasn't going to happen, but right now I put it in our 4 stars group text earlier today. The interview and then the breakdown afterwards looks like DJ Moore is going to be playing a lot more slot. And what did they say? Still the alpha male of this offense, the guy that they're going to run the offense through. Been trying to tell people this. I love Roma Dunze, but it's not his time yet. I hope he has 1,000 yards. And
it might become week 8, week 9. But to start the season off, just to how seasoned DJ Moore is and how many different offenses he's played in and how much adversity he's gone through to this point in his career, he is 100% the guy they're going to lean on early and often. There's no doubt about that. Sean, I agree with you 100% when you said it on Monday. This guy is the leader of this offense as for right now. As for right now, he is the leader of the Chicago Bears. And to me, he is the prototypical Amon-Ra St. Brown type of player. Like, I'm not talking about you guys' body size in comparison or anything like that. I'm talking about this guy does a lot of work at the line of scrimmage and gets a lot of yards after the catch. I think he was ranked number 6 in the NFL last year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was like number 4. So their playing style is very similar. So the offense is going to run through the slot. Ben Johnson said that a million times. For some reason in this offense, it seems like the guy in the slot gets the ball most often. So early and often, I expect DJ Moore and Cole Kmet to do a lot of the heavy lifting for the Chicago Bears.
I'll tell you what, I think they drafted a lot of guys in the last 2 years and picked up guys in the offseason that can play the slot. I think that Roma's going to be your sideline guy. Your deep. Believe it or not, he has a really just good contested catch rate. He's just really good at that. But I think that you have now 2 tight ends that can also pair in at the slot or disguise in the slot if you're not noticing it. They have a Luther Burden, the third that they just drafted, who's like a prototypical slot guy. You got DJ Moore there now. So who the hell is going to be there? I think this is the epitome of what Ben Johnson is telling us when I want everything to look the same. I'm going to be drafting a tight end with the same skills as a wide receiver, with the same blocking skills as a tight end. I'm going to be drafting a running back with the same blocking skills as a tight end, but also you know what I mean? He's drafting all these guys in the same way because everybody's going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're all versatile skill sets. DJ Moore can do anything. He can play any wide receiver position. Real quick, I want to say what's up, Cliff, Antmass, John, Plank. Thank you so much for joining the show, guys. We appreciate you.
All the regs.
If I missed anybody, I apologize.
Yeah,
please hit the like and subscribe button. Yeah,
Plank's in there.
Yeah,
Plank, the original G. Welcome back, brother. We missed you.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you are watching on Twitter, please go over to our YouTube channel. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. Sean, I think I was going to talk about it real quick. It's one thing I want to say about these interviews, and it's not so much what he said, but Javon Dexter is huge.
Huge.
I saw that
Huge,
thing, dude.
He is huge.
He
is
looks
a
like he's primed for a
large.
big season, man.
He is a big man, and he said that this season, this offseason, we switched my workout.
Lean too. He looked lean, like not like just fat. Like
He
he's
said
lean.
he used to do less weight, more reps. Now he's doing more weight and less reps. So he's starting to add that body mass. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And Ben Johnson had nothing but good things to say about Javon Dexter, especially as like when he's like we were playing him as an opponent. You could tell that he started to take over the game a little bit at times. He was just a little bit inconsistent. Javon Dexter, they said, "What's the one thing you got to work on?" He said, "Consistency. I just have to do it all the time. I can do it in flashes. I got to do it all the time. And if he does it all the time, Javon Dexter is going to be a damn good player in the NFL for a very long time."
Hey, and
I've
you
never-
know what,
I've
dude?
never
If you
doubted
use-
him.
what's his the kid Austin or the kid from
Austin Booker?
Kansas, Booker.
Austin Booker.
He's looking bigger too, by the way.
He put on muscle.
looks like he put on
muscle
10 or
mass.
15 pounds.
Yeah,
Put on
they said.
muscle mass.
I think they said he gained somewhere around 8 or 9 pounds, and he's still. They said that he's still adding weight. So yeah, that's nice
Good.
to hear
Great.
because you got to
And-
be bigger than 240 to be a really good defensive end in the NFL.
And our
Very
defensive
rare.
interior line looks really good. It's the defensive ends that worry me. But I'm wondering now if they start moving guys around and changing things up. You know, there's even what's his nuts, the defensive end. They're gonna, I think, move over to linebacker, and he's making a position for linebacker now.
That's
Shoot.
Hardy, Daniel Hardy.
Yes, Daniel Hardy. Yep.
Yeah, that was a big switch, and not something that I really heard about. That they moved him over to linebacker, and
This
that
coaching staff saw something.
they might be the guy that the mystery piece on that linebacking core this year. I don't know. I mean, truly, only time will tell. But obviously, they're making.
They're
a switch.
trying to develop dudes now.
A lot of moving
Thankfully.
around. If you read that article by Sports Illustrated when they're talking about Bears depth, they said that both Javon Dexter and Shamar Turner have both played defensive end a little bit in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. So this is going to be fun to watch, man. I don't know how they're going to do this, but I can't wait. I'm excited.
Ooh, is that a fact, Roma? Is that signed, sealed, and delivered? J.K. Dobbins to Denver?
That's what I saw today. Yeah.
Oh, that hurts RJ Harvey a little bit, Sean.
I don't know. R.J. Harvey's going to be just fine.
And you know what? It does look. RJ Harvey. They just drafted him. They're going to use him. We'll get into Denver later, but
Well, I just
watch out for Denver, dude. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're going to
It
talk
just-
about that.
It just says that he's headed to dinner tonight with Denver and the coaches, and that was from a little bit earlier ago. So no contract yet. But here, every offense has two running backs. If you put J.K. Dobbins with R.J. Harvey, I don't think that's going to affect R.J. Harvey that much. I still think R.J. Harvey is going to get his.
Oh, plus,
And
no
not in that
disrespect.
offense. He wants 3 running backs.
I'm not saying this to be rude or disrespectful, but how long before J.K. Dobbins is sitting on IR anyway? So it doesn't.
That's a fact too.
He's
That's
pulled
a
his
fact, too.
third Achilles tendon or whatever. Yeah.
Sean, anything else? Do you want to?
No, I outside we talked about Brisker coming back. I was glad to see him out on the field,
Yes.
doing what he loves. Luther Burden also still not participating in practice.
Injury.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I did not hear Kyler Gordon if he returned or not, or he's sitting out with that soft tissue. So if anyone heard that, drop it in the comments, please. And
It's early,
Illinois
man.
Jones
Sit those dudes. Let them sit, dude. It's not worth it.
Illinois Jones says he's becoming concerned about Burden. I'm not yet. It's early. I'm concerned about how
Yeah, if he's sitting out,
in this offense.
if you sit out in training camp, then
Yeah.
you need to start. That's a
But these
crucial
are-
part of their development.
Let's not get it twisted. These are very important days for a guy coming into the NFL. These camps
100%.
missing. So
Yeah,
this-
Colston Loveland's not playing.
He
not
can be
practicing.
at practice, though. He can be at practice and sit there through walkthroughs and be there in the meetings. He can be there in the place. He can take other coaching. He can do everything else. You know what I mean? He
Well,
might
Sean,
be sitting there in a jugs machine and working on his hands, just not moving side to side. Who
Sean,
knows what he's doing? It's just they're not going to run him out there in the middle of a hot day and ruin a hamstring tear. And now the kid's season's over.
Sean, let's hear your impression of your boy Cole Kmet's interview because there was a lot to unfold there. He's very transparent as a
Yeah.
football player. You don't
He
go out
always
there and-
has been.
It's not one day at a time. We just got to think.
He's
This
a
guy,
Chicagoan.
he tells you exactly what's going on. And
you want to know the truth? Why can't Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet be the best tight end duo in football?
he said that. He
Like,
said that. He
yeah,
said
why
Cole
not?
has to be the best 12 unit in the NFL. He said that.
We put this up, dude. Look at this top right. Led all NFL wide receivers and tight ends with an 85.5% catch rate. Next gen stats in 2024. After being second in 2023, no NFL receiver has been more clutch than Cole Kmet. There is a place for this guy on this football team.
Thank God we didn't throw it to him very often last year.
I mean,
Thank God he had 2 targets a game average for the guy who drops the ball the least of anybody in the NFL and scores touchdowns on about 50% of his catches.
Dude.
I just love the fact that Cole Kmet was like, hey, listen, I can't say that I'm here to coach Colson Loveland because I still have a lot to learn, and I'm in a new offensive now. I have new offense to learn, but I'm going to help him as much as I possibly can. And our goal is to both be good and offer. But we both have different skill set to offer this team, and I think it'll make it much tougher on defenses. I mean, he is just the consummate professional, man. I don't understand how anybody, Bears fan in the world, cannot like Cole Kmet. There's nothing about Cole Kmet
I think that's why he got his contract. He wasn't putting up great numbers, if you remember. They were decent, but they weren't great. And they signed him. And I think it's for his leadership ability. I think it's for his literally, he's going to wind up probably being a captain of the team. They're going to lower it from the 385 they had last year to probably like 3 or 4 this year. But look, he's a good guy to have on the team, especially if he's taking accountability for his own actions. That's going to, again, like I was saying earlier, that's also going to trickle down to those younger guys who, even if I do get called out, I didn't want to. This is how I handle it when I do. You know.
Yeah, and you know what? I did not get to that Olin Kreutz podcast yet, but
some of the stuff these guys are talking about, you guys, we talked.
Oh, it's on my list.
We talked a little bit on Monday with the retirement of Frank Ragnow. You know, he was ranked last year. Drew Dalman was ranked by Pro Football Focus, and I know a lot of people don't like Pro Football Focus, but there's really nowhere else to look when it comes to offensive linemen. He was ranked the 4th best center in the NFL. Right above him was Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow has since retired. That means that in terms of according to Pro Football Focus,
the 3rd best center.
He is the 3rd best center in the NFL right now. So yes, I do definitely believe that the Chicago Bears have the best center in the NFC North and maybe the NFC. I mean, there's no doubt that Drew Dalman is an absolute stud. The only problem, the question with Drew Dalman has never been. Drew Dalman has never. The question's never been about his skill set, about how well he plays football. It's about his health. That's the only thing that you got to worry about with Drew Dalman. He has missed time since he's joined the NFL, since becoming an NFL player. So as long as Drew Dalman could stay healthy, he could creep into that best center in the NFL conversation. He just has to stay in the field. That's it. But when he's on the field, there's nobody in the world questions the fact that he is an absolute stud.
That's actually a beautiful segue, because if you're worried about injuries, Sean, what that Sports Illustrated article, didn't that talk about injuries and how actually unfrequent they were?
For the Chicago Bears, they are.
I like their rankings. I think their rankings were spot on. When you talk about position by position, where the Bears are the deepest and where they're the thinnest, that Sports Illustrated article was pretty damn spot on, because the wide receiver room is by far the deepest room the Chicago Bears have. Because now you heard today that Tyson Bagent was hitting Tyler Scott all over the field. Like, I mean, it sounds like Tyler Scott is a guy who has something to offer this team.
He's got a fire lit under him.
He's getting coached. Oh, my God. He's going to be better.
Zacchaeus continues to make huge plays. Luther Burden hasn't even touched the field yet. You have Roman Dunze and DJ Moore, who you know are both going to be really good players in the NFL. I mean, the wide receiver room is set. I don't think the Bears need to add anybody else to this wide receiver room when they do the 53-man roster cut downs like that. I don't think there's anybody out there who's going to like more than the guys they have on this team already.
Duvernay, Zacchaeus, just you were saying on that 96-yard drive or whatever, he was involved in. Listen, they're very deep at wide receiver, and I'm not saying, let's everybody calm down. I'm not saying we've got 10 number 1 wide receivers. I'm just saying we actually have
got a lot of good ones
at a position that traditionally the Bears have never been deep in. So that's a little refreshing.
Yeah, too. And to whoever said they were worried about Burden, I think I for him, I'd be worried about falling behind some of these guys, because, you know, I've always thought that Zacchaeus was a sneaky good signing for the Bears. I mean, he's not been like an all-pro, but he's been productive wherever he's been.
Yes.
So he can get it done. So yeah, in that aspect, I have to agree with whoever said that. I think Burden should be a little nervous right now, because he might find himself having to earn his time, and maybe, You know, like Kyle was saying earlier, maybe it's going to fall to week 8, week 9 before he starts falling in, because regardless of what anyone says, this is huge for rookies. And if you ain't practicing and he's not ready to go and fire like these other guys, he's going to be holding a clipboard in Ben Johnson's team.
Let me ask you guys a question, and actually maybe the chat too. Let me ask a question. So do you think that maybe Ben Johnson and the staff might be do you think they would use, like, hey, they're doing better than you, you're going to sit for a couple of games? You think they would use it as a tool to make sure that this kid Luther Burden is done with his issues and like can overcome that? Like,
I mean, like a motivating factor?
Yeah, like a motivating tool.
I mean, I think the Bears at this point, because we just talked about, this is the deepest unit on the Chicago Bears, right? Does anybody disagree with that?
Yeah.
Right. So you've got the leeway and a little bit of care to say, hey, I can do
the
this.
luxury to bring Luther Burden along as slowly or quickly as you want. I don't think you have to. You're in any rush to get him onto the field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, does it suck that he's injured? Yeah, but that's not Luther Burden's fault, guys. I mean, injuries happen in football all the time. It's like Montez Sweat. It's not if, it's when. Like, that's going to happen. And unfortunately for him, it happened this early in the process. That doesn't mean that Luther Burden's been written off by any means necessary. I think the Bears are okay with it. I think they're like, hey, listen, we have Tyler Scott, we have Roma Dunze, we have DJ Moore, we have Zacchaeus, we have all these guys. Luther, take your time, study in the classroom, and then when it comes to the on-field work, just take your time, get healthy, and we'll worry about it when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Like I said, if in training camp he's still not here, then yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit of an issue, a little bit concerning. But right now, you guys, in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, they're really not doing all that much. You kind of know what you got out of Luther Burden when it comes to his athleticism. You don't have to see him run through a bunch of cones and stuff. We don't need now. Yeah, the 7-on-7, the 11-on-11. It sucks that he's missing that stuff, but this is part of football, and I think Luther Burden is going to be just fine.
The install. You just want him to be there for the install. That's really what you want.
And I happen to agree with Dustin's point. Scott does offer something that no other receiver has on this team, and that's blazing speed, who could take the top off of defense. There's nobody else on this team that has that 4.3 speed that Tyler Scott possesses.
Yeah, so he would be your Jamison Williams. And you know what? The fact that we're talking about Tyler Scott as the guy who could be like the guy who takes the top off of defense here, and he's a fringe wide receiver on this roster who might not make it. That shows how deep they are. Real quick, guys, the second deepest unit that Sports Illustrated says is the cornerback room. Do you guys agree with that?
I do. Think because they added Zay, not Zay. I think because they added him, yes. And, you know, you got to assume health is going to be okay.
Terrell Smith is there. You have Brisker.
Elijah Hicks.
Or not Brisker, excuse me. You have Gordon. You have Stevenson. You have Johnson. You have Smith. You have Elijah Hicks. Or is Hicks safety? Hicks is a safety.
Yeah, safety.
He's a safety.
But your backup slot is Josh Blackwell. I think he's a capable NFL player. And
who's got all starting time because of those injuries last year. They actually, a lot of guys got a lot of playing time last year. That might have been the best thing that happened to the Bears.
Chat, do yourself a favor, go read this article, because what they do when they're talking about the depth at cornerback is they break down all their PFF numbers and coverage, and it's not just PFF, it's coverage numbers in general. Like,
can we put the link in the chat?
And
Bruce, put the link in the chat.
I think Smith.
I don't think Bruce has it.
I think Smith and Blackwell are a lot better than Bears fans are giving credit for. These guys are more than capable backups. I think these guys could be starters on really bad teams in the NFL. And like you said, Sean, they could start moving some of these guys around from safety to corner or corner to safety. I mean, they know that this unit is deep, and they have one of the best defensive backs coaches in the NFL, and Al Harris. So, yeah, I agree with them too. I think that's probably the Bears' second deepest unit on the football team. And
what would you say, like, if you're an offense and all of a sudden you see Kyler Gordon at safety, you see Zay Frazier at nickel, and you're like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't even think this is not supposed to be the way they're lined up. But that could easily happen just in a mix-up on a play that they feel they might want to do. I think some crazy things are going to happen on defense, and Dennis Allen has probably got the most weapons in the secondary of any team in the NFL, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and Howie says, for your information, Tyler Scott was a high school running back. Yeah, that just shows, once again, like Jason's talked about for the last 2 months, these guys are versatile. This whole team they have a bunch of guys on this team who are versatile. They can take end-around sweeps. They can play running back for a play, like we've seen DJ Moore do, Cole Kmet do. Yeah. They can catch the ball. They can. And we talk about Colston Loveland, his range. He was ranked really high around the line of scrimmage, middle of the field, and the deep ball. So these guys, they can do a little bit of everything, especially DJ Moore, we've talked about. He's very underrated as a deep threat as well. You guys, the third ranked unit in terms of the most depth in the Chicago Bears was defensive tackle. Well, this one's a little surprising to me because this is a unit we talked about last year. We're like, oh, God, if they lose anybody, we're in trouble. And you saw it the second they lost Billings, it became a massive issue for the Chicago Bears. But they have done a pretty good job addressing this unit in the offseason.
Dude. All right. So name them off. You got Grady Jarrett. You've got Bilal Nichols. You've got Javon Dexter. And Shamar Turner.
Nichols is long gone.
Yeah,
Bilal, I'm sorry.
You got Shamar Turner. You got Andrew Billings. You got
Andrew Billings.
Javon Dexter.
Sorry, yes.
You got Chris Williams. And you got Grady Jarrett. So, I mean, that's
just their starting
much improved from last year for sure. And I think there's still room to grow for some of these guys. You talk about Javon Dexter. You talk about Shamar Turner. Obviously, at some point, he's probably going to start off slow, but at some point, only going to get better. I think this unit has improved a lot. I don't know if I put him at third as the third deepest unit on the Chicago Bears, but they've definitely moved up the list quite a bit here, and it's nice to hear. And you know what's crazy about this article, guys? Did you read the very last part of the article?
Yes.
Yeah.
They tell you how many games the Bears lost. Like I think they call it adjusted games lost.
Adjusted games lost to the injury.
As a Bears fan. And maybe it's just because I'm just in love with the team, but I was like, man, they had to have the second most injuries in the NFL. You guys know that they were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL last year?
And that's what I was saying, that bring back comes back around.
Well, it didn't seem that way because the injuries that they lost were so critical.
And the 75 different offensive line combinations that they used. I'm like, how are the Bears they had the third least amount of injuries in the NFL last year? But yeah, they go through the numbers here, and
I think part of that calculation though is like a wins above a replacement. So the guy that's coming in is probably the same level player anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the calculation, and because the Bears weren't deep and kind of sucked. When a guy goes out and another guy replaces him, especially on a really bad offensive line, when you replace a turd with a turd, the net sum is a turd. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the number 4 unit on this list, guys, is safety, which Sean alluded to earlier. I mean, when you talk about, obviously, you need Brisker the goal is for Brisker to stay healthy. But this year, if he doesn't, I think they feel like they've got some pieces in place to be able to replace him. Once again, we talked about maybe moving one of these cornerbacks to safety to replace a guy like Jaquan Brisker. But if you look at the numbers for Sean, what was the guy you mentioned earlier? Why do I always forget his name?
Elijah Hicks.
Elijah Hicks. He wasn't good when he played free safety, but he was a much better player when he played strong safety, up around the line of scrimmage, playing the run, covering those tight ends. He actually had a pretty good grade for PFF when he was playing the strong safety position. And then you talk about maybe moving a guy like Kyler Gordon around, which we've seen Dennis Allen do in his defenses before. So it's not like, oh, man, the Bears are going to start doing something nobody's ever done and hope that it works and it makes sense. No, he's done this before with players on his roster before. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd say safety's one of the top 5 deepest positions on the Bears, but it's definitely gotten deeper. And surprisingly, not adding a single player, basically what they did is they just got a coach who has a brain in his head, who's capable of filling in these holes if you do sustain an injury to a guy like Jaquan Brisker. And it's nice to hear. And people do knock on Jonathan Owens a lot, but I think he's a capable backup. I don't think he's my favorite player on the Bears, but I think
he had some big plays last year, dude. Some big plays.
Yeah, I think
I hate to tell people this about Jonathan Owens, but he's been very up and down in his career. As you just said, Kyle, very, very serviceable. I'm looking at his PFF numbers. I mean, he was the 4th best safety against the run in 420 snaps. Was that 429 snaps last year? He was a 4th safety against the run. His coverage grade was 53.9, which is abysmal. He's
horseshit. Yeah,
instead of 1.
Yeah, he's not a free range safety. He's not a coverage safety, and that's the.
But maybe you save Brisker by giving these other guys playing time. Maybe that's how you keep Brisker on the field longer.
But I was going to say, if you go back through his career, his coverage grades are very up and down, so he does have it in him. I mean, he's at a 62, he's at a 71. He's very capable, good backup. I like Jonathan Owens, not because of his wife, but
yeah. And you guys, I'm not going to sit here and get depth on them because I don't really know much about them. But let's not forget the 2 safeties they did add as undrafted free agents. And I know people are like, oh, great, big deal, undrafted free agents. But you know what? Jack Sanborn was an undrafted free agent. He played very well for the Bears while he was here. You guys, number 5 on the list is quarterback. And I don't want to dig too deep into this because if the Bears lose Caleb Williams, they're in big trouble. Big trouble. But
yeah, which is fine. That's like 88% of the league. It's and
it is nice to have a players coach here in Case Keenum. I mean, this guy, this is a guy who can teach Caleb Williams some things about the game that he's never learned before. This is a guy who, if Caleb Williams to get hurt, he's a capable backup as well. I think you tell me if you disagree, guys, but when you lose your starting quarterback, you expect your backup to go 500, right? That's good.
That would be great.
That's good. If your backup quarterback comes in and goes 2-2, like Tyson Bagent did a few years ago, or 3-3, that's a success story for me. Because I don't, if your backup quarterback's coming in and going 4-0, probably shouldn't be a backup quarterback in the NFL, right?
And if your backup quarterback comes in the Super Bowl and wins, we'll have him start for the Bears.
Yeah, like Nick Foles. Yeah. Numbers. So, do you guys want to say anything else about quarterback? Because I just don't think there's too much to talk about.
Listen. If you lose your starting quarterback, your team sucks. That's how football goes.
With Case Keenum, though, you're looking at a guy who has 1-1 in the playoffs, so he does have some experience in as a playoff quarterback. I really
like the Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah, I really like to Stephon Diggs, and I really like I like the addition of Case Keenum. I like having this mentor here, but yeah, we don't have to spend too much time because if we're talking about a Super Bowl, it's not going to be with Case Keenum.
Yeah, and I also believe, and I'm not going to get into too much because every time we talk, we say the name. I'm not even going to say it because every time we say his name, the check goes absolutely insane. But I like their emergency. I like their emergency quarterback as well. I think he's capable. He went 2-2 in his time in the NFL. He went 500. He's obviously can win games in the NFL. He looked like his development was kind of ahead of the process here. And I think Tyson Bagent has a very low ceiling, but I do think that he learns very quick. Now,
hey, you know what? The best thing is that Case Keenum is a free coach that we can circumvent the rules. We talked about it last week. Caleb now has a coach that he can talk to legally within the league rules about how the system works and how he needs to address things, which is what he needs when a new offense is being installed. So it's a really brilliant move. And if the Bears make the playoffs this year and Caleb Williams does really well, in my opinion, Case Keenum is probably going to be a really big reason why.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jason. They only get a certain amount of time to talk to the coaches, but he can talk to Case Keenum as much as he possibly wants. That they can do that at their disposal whenever they want. The number 6 on the list, guys, is tight end. This is the one I think should be moved up a little bit.
Okay,
I might have them at number 4.
Yeah, that's where I put tight end if I was doing this article. But like I said, this article is pretty spot on. They did a really good job. But I think they're reading too much, or they're basing that too much off the fact that Colston Loveland's a rookie. Now, I understand he's a rookie, and we don't know what to expect from Colston Loveland. He could end up being a bust. But as a top 10 pick and a guy who was drafted by a guy like Ben Johnson, I think he kind of knows what he's going to get from Colston Loveland. I'm not saying he's the next type or Travis Kelce, but I think this guy's going to come out and be good pretty quickly here.
Plenty of other teams valued him.
He's also very smart. He's also very smart. And he's got that grit. This guy was a farmer. This guy worked on a farm for years, so he's not afraid of work. He's not afraid to learn. So I think the Bears, and I think Smythe, as much as people like to rag on him and say he's terrible, he's been in the NFL for a while now, guys. So if you're not a really good player in the NFL, you don't last very long. I mean, this is a guy who's obviously a capable backup. This is a guy who, if Cole Kmet or Colston Loveland had to miss a few games, obviously don't want him starting the entire season. But if they had to miss
Miami?
Yeah. I think Drew Smythe is capable of being that number 3 tight end who can catch a few passes here and there every once in a while. He's certainly better in terms of offense than Martellus Bennett, right? I mean, that's not even a question.
Let's be honest. Durham Smythe was brought here to do one thing, and that's be the best blocking tight end in the NFL for the Chicago Bears.
And maybe catch a ball or two,
Yeah, maybe sneak out.
I think he's going to have a couple of sneaky touchdowns this year on some crazy Ben Johnson design play where they think he's blocking, he falls off his chip and goes into the end zone
and nobody's paying attention to him because
no one's standing there all alone to win a game. Mark that down on June.
Well, mark it, Bruce.
I said that shit, so when it happens.
Yeah, you guys. And real quick, I don't want to get too far off subject here, but everybody in the comments keeps talking about Declan Doyle. You guys, I think it'll be a very long time before other teams start thinking about hiring Declan Doyle.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 2 years. I just think.
Because they're all going to know it's Ben Johnson's offense.
Yeah, I think anything that happens to the Bears that's positive will be credited to Ben Johnson. And that's no disrespect to Declan Doyle because I've heard nothing but good things about the guy. But I think he would have to take the responsibilities of play calling before another team really looked at him as a serious candidate for a head coach, right? Because he's not going to make a lateral move, right? He's already the offensive coordinator. Why would you go to another team to be the offensive coordinator? I think the only way he gets hired away from the Bears is if he gets a head coaching job. And the only way that happens is if he's the offensive play caller, which is probably not going to happen for the first season and a half, 2 years here, right? You figure? I mean, do you guys disagree?
And the hidden value there is if we're developing our coaches, by the way, fans, we get compensatory picks in the draft as well.
Not to mention you're developing your coaches, something we've never done before. That's also a bonus.
I'll be honest. If you've listened to Declan Doyle's interviews, he's very, very smart individual.
Smart
yeah, and I
football
think
family guy
hire.
too. Like
I think it's a great hire.
Very articulate. He could be the
He
speaker for
came
the
from
house.
Sean Payton. We stole someone from Sean Payton. I'll take that all day. I know people may think Sean Payton's a douche and all this other crap, but he's a really
you love
good
him as your
coach.
football coach.
And mind you, a Naperville, Illinois native.
Yeah, and then
Also the Chicago Bears quarterback during the strike season.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So you guys coming in at number 7 on the depth list is the running back room. And this is the one I love about this article because basically they say the same thing that Sean, you and I have been saying all along. The reason they have the running back room in the middle and they don't really know where to put him is because, first of all, you don't know what to expect out of a 7th-round pick, a Kyle Monangai, although we do think we all believe he's going to be better than a 7th-round pick, right? Most 7th-round picks are practice squad players or cut candidates. I think Kyle Monangai is going to make this team and is going to be higher in the depth chart than people think. Number 2, Sean, like you stated 1,000 times, nobody knows what Roschon Johnson is because he's never had a coach. He's never had a good play caller. He's never had a good offensive coordinator.
Or good offensive line. He's between the tackles guy, so he's got to run. He needs a line. Yeah,
so if Roschon Johnson comes out here and surprises people, I think this room is a lot deeper than people think. Then you could lose a guy like DeAndre Swift for a couple games, and I think Roschon Johnson, a guy like Kyle Monangai or Ian Wheeler could kind of pick up the slack, right? So I like where they have the running back room. I think that's exactly where it should be. It's kind of like an asterisk, right? Like we think it's deep, but we don't really know. We have to see what these guys can do on the football field with a good offensive line and a good coaching staff to determine.
I wouldn't call it a strength, but hopefully it's not a weakness.
Yeah. I just as long as it's not like a handicap to the Bears offense, this running back room sucks. Don't worry about the Bears run game. Then I think we're in good shape.
We talked about it last week, though. If the offensive line can open up giant holes like the Lions and Eagles offensive lines do, it doesn't matter who's running at running back.
And we're going to get into the offensive line in 1 second here. But you guys, number 8 on the list is defensive end. This is the one that I probably would have dropped down a little.
Yeah.
This one might be
probably last on my list.
Yeah, this might be the bottom for me. I like Montez Sweat. I think the ceiling for Deo is sky's the limit, but the fact that Deo just hasn't done it yet. The fact
you guys said you're done with Dominique Robinson.
I'm done with Dominic Robinson. I mean,
I'm done
with
Dominic Robinson.
I listen, guys. At least when a guy's struggling or a guy's learning an offense or a defense or an offense, and a guy's trying to develop in the NFL, transitioning to a new defense or new offense, you could usually see flashes, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll see flashes. Like we've seen them in Javon Dexter. Like this guy's young. He's learning how to play in the NFL. He needs the game to slow down a little bit. But we've seen him be dominant at times. I've never seen Dominic Robinson do anything. Ever.
No.
I don't even know if I've ever heard his name called. It's no disrespect to Dominic Robinson.
Terrible.
This is not an easy game to play. It's the NFL. Jason, what did you call it the other day? The 0.1% of the world that's good at playing football. I mean,
it's 0.01%.
Yeah, I mean,
who knows what it is?
No disrespect to him, but I'd rather see Daniel Hardy, Austin Booker, Deo, Montez Sweat on the field over Dominic Robinson all day, every day. And you know what? To be honest with you, I don't know exactly what they're doing with Daniel Hardy in this linebacker role, but I'd rather see Daniel Hardy as a full-time player over Dominic Robinson.
I was just going to say that. If you look and Dominic Robinson, who we all agree sucks, you move Daniel Hardy to linebacker, you have 3 defensive ends. I mean, these other guys are all undrafted free agents. And here, I'm not going to take anything away from Jameer Robinson because he is a Jayhawk. He'll probably wind up being a stud.
I knew you were going to say that. The coaches are coming out and be like, hey, guys, we have the list here. Jareem Robinson is the worst player on this team. And Sean's going to be like, but he should still be number 4 in the depth chart.
But, I mean, dude, honestly, if you look at this list, and if you take Daniel Hardy and say he's going to be a linebacker, I mean, this is the thinnest position on this roster, and I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, but you guys, this is another position we've heard them talking about maybe adding a guy in free agency. We saw them. We heard them talk about that guy from New Orleans.
What's the latest cap room? Anybody know?
About $14 million.
Oh,
so,
okay.
But I do expect when the 53 man roster cuts are made, if they don't make a move like Jadeveon Clowney or Darius Smith,
took the words right out of my mouth.
I do expect them to add another guy here, Sean, and a capable NFL player. I'm not saying he's going to be a star. I'm not saying if you lose Montez Sweat, you're still in good shape because this guy's backing him up. But I do think they'll have a guy that will be a good rotational piece here at some point. I think they're going to add somebody.
They have no choice. They really have no choice.
Yeah, that's why I think the defensive end position should be a little bit lower on this list. That's just
100% agreed. Yep.
All right, guys. Number 9, right behind the defensive ends, is tackle. This is where the conversation gets pretty interesting because you just don't know what you have in Karan. You don't know what you have in Ozzie Trapilo. You know what you got in Darnell Wright. You know what you got in Braxton Jones. But if either one of those guys gets hurt, the Bears are in rough shape at the tackle positions. If Darnell Wright gets hurt, they're in bad shape at the right tackle position. I just don't see. I mean, maybe you could put Ozzie Trapilo there, but then how does that hamper Ozzie Trapilo development
then you
as
got
a
your
left
swing
tackle?
tackle and Braxton Jones, right? So who's a viable starter.
So you would move Trapilo over and put Braxton in at left,
or maybe you have him play right. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see them play all those guys at right tackle too and left tackle. Honestly, everybody everywhere. Who gives a shit? Joe Tooney is the only guy you should be moving around, and Dahlman. But look, all I know is the only way you know if you have depth, and this is what the Sports Illustrated article really talked about, is if you have injuries. Now, that's why it was puzzling to us, because the offensive line seemed like it had all these injuries. There were a lot of guys. Bill Murray had actually some low snap account, but are actually really good grades. Braxton Jones, before he got hurt, actually had really decent grades. There were guys that actually performed pretty well. Karam Amagaji comes in. He missed most of the training camp because of an injury, so he wasn't necessarily physically walking through the walkthroughs or who knows what's going to happen. I'm just hoping that these guys are now getting coached. We've got a little bit more depth, and I really hope that everybody is trying everything in every position, because to be perfectly honest with you, you're right. I don't know how tackle's going to go at left or right. I would assume that both of those guys.
I have a question.
Okay,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that, based on what Trapilo has done in his college career, do you think there's a better option at right tackle if something were to happen to Darnell Wright? God forbid.
That's my point. You would move him over to right because he's a better right tackle.
You have to.
And then put Braxton Jones at left.
I think that's probably the only option, and that's why tackle should be pretty low on the Bears list for depth purposes, because you never
you
want
would
to
want
see guys
one or two more.
you don't want guys moving around a lot, man. That's never good for a player to keep moving around constantly. I think ultimately, if the Bears do have a major injury to Darnell Wright, or even a guy like Ozzie Trapilo or Braxton Jones, they're in trouble, and they're probably gonna have to go add somebody in free agency in the middle of the season, and that's not what you want, because if those guys were good, they'd be on a team already. So the depth concerns for tackle. For me, the tackle positions are just a big question mark, because I just don't think you've seen enough from Karan Amagaji and Ozzie Trapilo to know what you got. I just don't think there's enough there to say, hey, you know what?
The Bears gave them the third most time allowed to pass last year. That's not the problem. We just did suck because the ball wasn't going out, which is why I think Ben Johnson said Caleb is slow. I think the offensive line hopefully will get better just by scheme alone. So hopefully, even if we have a guy that comes in depth, should be better just by scheme alone. Not 2.7 seconds, 1.7 seconds.
I agree with you, Jason, because we talk about all the time about how when the previous coaching staff was here, the tackles were constantly put on islands and kind of just hung out to dry. You expect this coaching staff to realize that maybe that's not their strengths, and to give them more chip help from the tight ends or from the guards or from the running backs and try to help these guys out a little bit. I don't know what this coaching staff thinks of Braxton Jones. For all I know, maybe they think he's a starting tackle, left tackle in the NFL. I don't know, but I do think he's going to get more help here for sure, and he will look better than he has in years past. There's no doubt about it. Number 10 on the list, guys, stick to the offensive line here.
Center.
Guard and center. Yeah, the interior of the offensive line.
I think we're good at guard, but center scares me. Center is who's after Dahlman.
Yeah. So if you look at there is one thing that this article put in perspective for me personally, guys, and you can tell me if you disagree, but the Bears, I think Bill Murray is better than people think.
Yes.
This guy was a converted defensive tackle to a guard, and all he did when he came in and stepped on the field was play out of his mind. He was outstanding.
Like an 84 grade. Dude,
I didn't realize how good these grades were. If you look at Bill Murray's grades, he was one of the best backup guards in football last year.
What are his grades? Read them off.
I think his overall grade on PFF was 84. Sean, you got PFF in front of you. You got Bill Murray in front of you there.
It was in the 80s. It was definitely in the 80s.
Which is well above average.
I actually touched on this.
0 sacks, 0 pressures, 0 penalties, 0. He had 0. He was 0.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a guy who hasn't played much guard. He just transitioned from defensive tackle to guard. This is a guy who's learning a new position and still was one of the best backup guards in football. So the more I read about Bill Murray, the more confident I became in the backup guard position. I know that's not good because You never want
don't want it to happen,
You don't
but-
want Jonah Jackson or
Yeah.
Joe Tooney to get hurt. You want these guys to play all season. But the fact of the matter is, one of them is probably going to miss a little bit of time, and I don't think it's going to be Joe Tooney because he never really
Yeah,
has.
85 pass, 82.4.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the guy's a stud. He should be getting $40 million a year.
Look at those numbers, and I know the snap count is low. I know this 42 snap count. That's not good. Maybe they played a really bad team when he was on the field, but all you could do is play the guys who are in front of you and play
Right.
when you're asked to play. Look at this, 82.4 overall grade, pass blocking 85.7. Well, I mean, second of the position of anybody in the NFL, and then 77.3 run blocking grade. That's nothing to be ashamed of either. I think they have a weapon here, or a secret here that nobody knows about. I think if people paid more attention to Bill Murray last season, this guy would have been signed away from the Chicago Bears.
How awesome his name is Bill Murray, too, by the way.
I mean, I talked about that a lot last year when he stepped onto the field, and I never knew existed until he started playing for the Bears last year. But I think Bill Murray is a capable backup guard. And then Luke Newman, it sounds to me like, guys, he's going to be the backup center here, 100%.
And that Canadian kid they got, too.
And I remember a couple
I don't
weeks
know
ago,
about Theo
man,
Bennett.
I touched on Bill Murray, and I tried to tell everyone I think that was a very good depth piece that the Bears re-signed and brought back to this club. I love Bill Murray. I think he'll be a great replacement player because you need one of those when you have a Jonah Jackson on your team. I don't want to bag on the guy, but
Yeah, but if a guy can play like that for 1 or 2 games,
history is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, DJ Profit, guys, he says he cannot play for any other team in the NFL with a name like Bill Murray.
agreed, DJ.
Yeah, and then, the only thing I wish would have happened, guys, and I've talked about this a lot, and I'm sure you guys are like, if you stop talking about Matt Pryor, it's over and done with. But I wish the Bears would have cut Ryan Bates and re-signed Matt Pryor. That's the only way I wish.
Ryan Bates is a waste of space, bro.
Ryan Bates
It's a waste of money.
Pryor
That's what he is. It's not like he's cheap. Right?
Yeah.
Ryan Bates is getting a lot more money than he should, and he was here to be a backup last year, and he was injured more than anybody.
Yeah,
Can't be a really good backup if you're not on the field. So there's still some.
He's another one of the pet projects of Ryan Poles, and some of these pet projects kind of get on his nerves, and he's one of
they're lingerers. They linger.
Yes,
I agree with you, Phil.
We're paying this guy. What's his earnings this
I
year?
think it's like $5 million a year, isn't it?
3.4 million this year. We're paying him.
All right, so
3.4
close
million.
enough. Too close for me to $5 million a year. Real quick, I want to say what's up to Bears fan for life, Phil. Thanks for joining the show, man. Erica, she's back in the chat here. Dante, thanks for joining the show. Obviously, Cliff, Aunt Mass, Jebediah, Romy. We appreciate all you guys so much. Brennan did make an appearance here, so one of the 4 stars himself is in the building. Yeah, I think this guard center position is exact. Yeah, that's you.
The center one scares me the most because after Dolman, it's garbage.
Well, we don't know what to expect from.
We don't know about Luke.
The fact that we don't know though is too big of a question mark in itself, right? I do like
Bears fan. I'm guessing garbage.
I do like that they have them ranked second last on the list, and I think everybody in this chat knows who's last on the list in terms of depth on the Chicago Bears. The linebacker unit, if it sustains any injuries at all, is in big trouble.
We don't know who the third linebacker is. We only have 2 starting linebackers.
Yeah, and what sucks is losing Jack Sanborn almost to me looked better as the middle linebacker than he did the will linebacker. I think he was a better Mike linebacker than he was outside. So he was a capable backup when Tremaine Edmonds had to leave the field for a couple plays here and there. They don't have that guy on this roster. I know that they have Amen listed as the backup middle linebacker. This guy's never taken a
Noah Sewell. He couldn't beat out Jack Sanborn.
I don't think Amen's ever taken a snap, has he?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever taken a starting snap in the NFL.
Oh, let me look that up. I don't know.
I don't think he's ever had his starting
Who,
snap.
Sewell?
No, Amen.
Oh, maybe.
I'm looking at him.
It's not an injured linebacker. You never know.
Should be in the article here.
15 snaps last year.
Yeah.
So basically nothing.
Yeah,
His grades were really good though. They weren't bad for his 15 snaps. He performed.
But we weren't deep last year either. So if he had to struggle to get time on that squad last year, he's not good.
Oh, it says here, guys. It says between Noah Sewell, Amen, Ababajinga, and Ruben Hippolyte, between the 3 of them, you guys, they have less than 200 NFL snaps. That's not good. Ruben
Hippolyte has 0.
That is no depth.
Yeah, and
is
if you
no
look
doubt.
right here, 15 snaps from last season, man.
I don't even know how
Yeah,
that's
that's-
qualifying for a
Listen,
rating.
45 snaps was pushing it. That's too small of a sample size. As much as I love Bill Murray, 15 snaps
15
is
is not-
way too
yeah.
small of a sample size.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
I agree with
light.
you. Yeah, Phil says here, guys, can't imagine the Bears having very thin linebacking group of guys. Yeah, and never
I
in our
agree,
lifetime
man.
have we seen the Bears not have good linebacking core. And this, to me, is one of the weakest we've seen in a very long
Here,
time.
I don't know,
Not
Maybe
only
all
are they,
time, yeah.
when I built this wall of fame behind me, half of it is linebackers
Yeah,
from
I mean,
Chicago
that's-
Bears history. It's
You guys-
like
if I say give me two positions when I say Chicago Bears, you're going to say running back, linebacker every time.
linebacker.
Every
Yeah.
single time. That's what you're going to say. Running back and linebacker. Running back and linebacker. This is the first time in my lifetime that not only are the Bears not have any depth position, but Tremaine Edmonds is still a question mark as well. He got absolutely destroyed by Pro Football Focus last year. Hopefully he could play better in this scheme, like you said a couple weeks ago, Jason. Hopefully what Tremaine Edmonds needs to kind of unlock his skill set, reach his potential, is a Dennis Allen scheme. Hopefully he gets
He's
better.
still
But
only like 26. He's like
Yeah.
not even, dude, he's young.
overall,
We can spend another 2 years on him as a development project, and it's not going to be bad.
overall, very good article by Sports Illustrated. I agree with kind of
Oh, yeah.
basically most of what they put out there. I think that
Yeah.
if the Bears are deep in a couple of position groups and they can sustain some injuries, if they sustain some injuries in a couple other different position groups, particularly the offensive line or linebacking core, they're in big trouble. They're in
Yeah.
big trouble.
Loveland
Big trouble.
Loveland. I was reading the comment. Loveland will tell the tale. The Lions kind of surprised me because Lions was that wins over replacement. Weren't they like number 2 or 3? They were way up at the top of that list. They lost 2 games, so the methodology kind of threw me for a loop.
Well, no, but it's
So
not
it
just
depends on how
game.
they weight each stat that they measure.
Yeah,
out.
it's not just it's also how you perform, like what your overall grade was. So, for instance, the Lions did win 15 games, but their defense fell off tremendously due to injuries, and
Yeah,
they had to win games by outscoring other teams. So,
I got it.
they're talking about grading you as in totality as a unit, as like a defense or offense or a linebacking core. And the Lions did sustain a ton of injuries on their
Whereas
defense
the
last
Bears
year.
sustained very little, but each loss had a very vast impact.
Yeah, I mean,
on
Andrew Billings you couldn't lose. You
Yeah.
couldn't lose. He was the only run stopper on the Bears last year. You couldn't lose.
Hey, Phil, Urlacher right now still may be better than any linebacker we have on this team.
As is Lance Briggs,
Maybe?
maybe Hunter
Better.
Hillenmeyer.
Dude, what the?
No, I don't want to rag on TJ Edwards. I love the guy. I think he's much better.
I do too. I do too.
All right,
He's better
guys.
than he's playing, but he's not better than Brian Urlacher. Get the
Really
hell out
good.
of here.
Really good article by SI. Do you guys anything
Yeah.
else you want to talk about before we get into these over unders?
No, let's roll into these over and unders, man.
Let's
I
roll
was
in. I'm
actually-
ready.
All right.
I was
First of all,
actually-
chat real quick before Sean. Sorry to interrupt you, but chat. Ron, Break News, Bruce, Cliff, Antmass, Phil, Dante, Plank. This is the most work I have ever done for a podcast. in
Oh my
life,
God.
So please bear
You
with
guys
us.
don't
here.
appreciate
This is
this.
a
I quit.
lot of work.
Hey guys, I didn't do a lot. I'm just gonna riff right off the top of my brain. So
Sean,
Everybody's gonna love
feeding
Sean
off
and
our
Nate.
coattails.
Yeah.
I had a lot of work today. I didn't have time to dig into the books like I normally do, but I think I'm pretty well versed, and I'll rattle off of you guys. So
Hey, I did mine by division, so I'm not like you're gonna throw up some things and we're gonna comment on them based on like high to low on wins and loss over unders. Can you just leave it up there so then we can all comment on it? Because
What
I'm
was
not
that?
gonna
like,
leave up when you put up your graphic. Just leave it up
oh
there.
yeah. We're gonna. You guys want to start at the bottom or the top? Most wins
Let's
or least.
let's
wins?
start at the bottom because we start at the top. It's going to be over.
Started at the bottom.
Yeah,
now,
let's start at the bottom.
All right. Well, the
right.
only team, the lowest amount of wins in Vegas this year is the Cleveland Browns at 4.5. And boys, I'm going under.
I'm going under as well. You guys, if you have 3 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback, and this is a team.
And they have
going to-
7 quarterbacks. So I don't
This
even
is-
mind us quarterbacks at this point.
Yeah, and you know what's really scary for me? I mean, obviously the Browns need to worry about the future, right? That's the goal for every team in the NFL. Worry about the future. So you have to get these young kids as much playing time as you possibly can. And you're talking about Shadur Sanders and what's the other kid's name? What's scary for me is, and DJ Prophet, I'm glad you just said that because that's exactly what I want to talk about. They keep talking about in Browns OTAs and mandatory minicamp about how good these kids look, like Gabriel and Sanders. Like, guys, the only way this team wins over 4.5 games is if Joe Flacco starts for them. That's the only chance they have to win them 4.5 games. If so, and the fact that they keep on talking about, man, these kids look electric. These kids look so good. These kids look so good. If Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, I think his name, if one of these 2 guys starts for this team, They are not winning 5 games.
No.
There's no way. And you can mark my words there. There's no way in hell this team. First of all, they're in one of the toughest divisions in football. It's absolutely it's a gauntlet for them.
In the first 6 weeks, they play
Yeah.
the Bengals,
Mhm.
the Ravens, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Dolphins, and then maybe they'll beat the Patriots. Maybe. I mean,
No,
in their
no,
first,
hell no.
no,
Hell no.
I'm with you. This is
Hell
what I'm
no.
saying. Where are these 5 wins coming from? Because I see an 0-8 football team leading into their Week 9 bye.
Well, let me tell you something. I got listen. I'm also on the under, so I'm about to actually talk up the Browns. So take it easy, everybody. But I'm still on the under on the 4.5. Basically, because they have no offense. Their offense is so bad, it's god awful, and nobody knows. And that's if Joe Flacco is there. They're probably still really bad, right? They added Deontay Johnson. Who cares? They lost Nick Chubb, Elijah Moore. They don't have any offensive weapons. They're not. They have a Njoku. Like, okay, great. But here's the thing that I want everybody to understand. Last year, the Browns defense generated the highest run stuff rate, 25.4%, against designed runs this season. The Browns have contacted opposing ball carriers behind the line of scrimmage, 54.1% of designed runs last year, also the highest rate in the NFL. Now, in case you guys forgot, they drafted a guy by the name of Mason Graham. They also got running back Quinshon Judkins. Harold Fannin, I think, is a pretty serviceable tight end. And honestly, I think the guy that's going to be starting before the end of the year starts, probably by week 11, will eventually be Shedeur Sanders, because they know the guy's an asshole, his family's an asshole, and he doesn't know how to talk to the crowd, which is really crazy considering his father. But he is probably the best talent they have on that team at quarterback.
Yeah, and that's great, Jason, and I understand that. But first of all, they have the 12th hardest schedule in the NFL. I know Jebediah. They're good enough. They're good enough to beat the bad teams. They don't play any bad teams. That's the problem. And you guys, Jason just gave you the stats for how impressive their run defense was last year. Guess what their record was last year? 3-14, and they probably had better quarterbacks last year than they're going to have this year. So they fell well short of the 5 wins last year. I just don't see any way. You guys, if you even out the records, at the end of the day, all these teams have to be within a certain record, right? Because they all play 17 games. If you don't have the Browns as the 3-win team, because you know you're going to get some of them, right? Then who is?
The Saints. But I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. I like I said, I think it's the under. But don't be surprised if this defense is a little staunchy and a little hard to get going on, and they squeak by maybe 6 wins, which is still shit. But okay, great. Hit the over.
No way. Listen,
No way.
Their defense was good last year. They had Myles Garrett last year. He had a tremendous season. They finished 3-14. I just don't see any way, shape, or form.
There could be some like 6 to 3 wins.
They have to play the Steelers twice. They have to play the Bengals twice, and they have to play the Ravens twice. I just don't see it, guys. I think
the weakest team
will end up with 3
on
wins
their
again.
schedule is Week 14 versus Tennessee.
Oh, they're garbage. I'm telling you, they're garbage. I went under on the 4.5, and I listen.
Well, they come out of the bye at the Jets. That's a winnable game for them, possibly. But then it's Ravens at Vegas versus the Niners, then Tennessee, then the Bears, then the Bills, then the Steelers, then the Bengals. I mean, I guess they could sneak one out against the Steelers because the Steelers still have unresolved quarterback issues.
I'm not that big on the Steelers right now. I'm just being honest with you. We'll get to that later, but okay.
Yeah, but I mean, so if you're talking about 2 bad teams, guys, it comes down to what? Coaching? So you taking Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season, or are you taking Kevin Stefanski, who's lost he had 2022 7-10, 2024 3-14.
Well, you're hoping that Stefanski,
2 of his last 3 seasons
have come up with
and
something.
And you guys, in 2022 when he went 7-10, he had capable quarterback play, and they still won only 7 games and lost 10. So
we'll get into
I just don't see how this team could possibly win 5 games. I don't see it. Maybe they come out and they come out on fire and Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, they're under,
and they could convince me otherwise. But right now, I'm taking the Browns under 4.5 all day.
If
I bet it on FanDuel tomorrow,
I'm betting under. The 6th leg you lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to look at who they beat last year.
Nobody, they suck. I'm just telling you, the defense got better. The defense got, I think, much improved. Just in my own opinion.
Who did they win? Oh, they beat the Jaguars. They beat the Jaguars last year.
Yeah, but I think that was without
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
They took the Eagles. I mean, 20-16.
That was without Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but still, they're a really good team without Jalen
They
Hurts.
beat the Ravens 29-24, October 27th.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you guys, just I took the under. Take the under.
I'm taking the under.
Just don't
I'm
put
taking
it
the
on
under.
your 6
I'm
leg
taking-
fucking parlay because you're gonna lose.
I'm just saying that the Browns, you know, when you look at listen, guys, when
I'm
I
taking
did this, when I first started, I'm like, man, I think every team's going to hit the over, but it's impossible. And when
Yeah,
you
it's
get,
about-
when you
yeah.
get to week 3 of the season and you've seen what these teams are and who they are as a football team, the Browns are going to be the team that if you were playing in a confidence pool every week, you're like, I'm putting 16 on the team playing the Brown. I'm telling you, they're going to end up being that team this season. The
But
Saints
you know what?
and
Late in
Browns
the year,
are going
watch
to be
them
those
like
teams.
spoil somebody's playoff hopes. Watch them lose
And
somebody
Prophet,
down.
I might
in
be
their
there
ranking.
with you, bud. I might be there with you. I don't know if they're going to be worse, but
I think losing is a good thing for them too, Cliff. I
Best
agree with
case
you. If I'm-
scenario,
if I'm,
they
if
win
I'm the
by-
Browns, I'm tanking to try to get a quarterback because I don't think Shadir Sanders or Dylan Gabriel are it. Like I said, if you have 3 quarterbacks, you have none. You have
Correct.
none.
You're gonna score like 6
Yeah,
points.
and
a week.
Jebediah, I get your point. And they split with the Ravens last year, and they won 3 games. There's nothing you can do to convince me that the Browns are going to be a good football team. I think they're going to be one of the worst in the NFL, and I think they will be in the competition for first pick in the draft. Sean, who do we got next?
I agree 100%.
Yeah,
Let me
wouldn't
flip
surprise me.
screens here. We're going up to over 5.5. And that is the Giants, the Jets, the Titans. Hold on. Who's on the bottom? I think there's one more team. Oh, no, that's it.
Nope.
The Giants, the
Giants,
Jets,
Jets,
and
and
the
Titans.
Titans.
All right, Jason,
Vegas
start us
has
off,
them
brother.
at over 5.5.
All right, I'm actually over on the Giants, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't think that they're a good team, right? This is almost like the antithesis of my Browns philosophy here. You add Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not a stud, but he's better than anybody they've had in like 15 years. You add Darius Slayton, a guy you might remember in Roy Robertson Harris. I just put him in there because he's the next bear. But I think they had a pretty good draft. You got Abdul Carter. You know, that guy's going to be a stud on fucking defense. Your quarterback of the future, Jackson Dart, probably will be starting by like week 11, would be my
Love
guess.
Jackson Dart.
But I will tell you this.
totally.
Malik Neighbors has 104 receptions in 2024, one shy of Puka Nacua in 2023 for the second most by a rookie in NFL history. He also trails rookie Brock Bowers with 108 receptions. So basically, I believe the deep ball skills of Russell Wilson pair very well with Malik Neighbors. So for fantasy football purposes, I would draft Malik Neighbors hard, but I think 6 wins is very possible for the Giants. So I'm taking the over.
I agree with you, Jason. I think the New York Giants are going to win more than 5.5 games. I think this is probably going to be the best the New York Giants have looked in years. I think Russell Wilson, as bad as he is still a capable NFL quarterback. I think he's a serviceable backup. I think ultimately that's what he's going to become. Like you guys said, Jackson Dart's probably going to take the reins for this team at some point this season. But Jason, you're right. There is talent on this roster, particularly on the defensive line, getting after the quarterback, which we all know is absolutely huge in the NFL, and they can score points. I think they have a good running back tandem with Cam Scatterbo and Tracy there. I like Malik Neighbors. I think he's going to end up being one of the best receivers in the NFL for the next decade. And like you said, I mean, Jameson Winston has won games in the NFL. Russell Wilson was at one point being talked about as first ballot Hall of Famer, even though he's obviously not that guy anymore, but he can still play football. And then Jackson Dart, I believe, was the best quarterback in this draft. So I do think the Giants are capable, more than capable of winning more than 5.5 games. I think that I'm going to take the over on the Giants all day. And to be honest with you, I know a lot of people want to keep saying that the Cowboys are a great team, but I think the Giants are capable of beating a team like the Cowboys, and I think they'd be capable of beating a team like the Commanders on a bad day. The only team that they're going to get swept by for sure to me is the Eagles. It's just, I think the Giants have enough raw talent on the roster to get them over that 5.5 wins. And guys, I'm not saying they're going to win 20. I'm not saying they're going to be undefeated, but 6, 7, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
They got a nice little defensive tackle in the draft too, in Darius Alexander. But Cam Scatterbo is obviously everybody's darling this year. But he's got a lot of talent, man. They're going to love him in New York.
Sean, you want to add anything to the Giants?
I'm looking over their schedule here, guys, and with their quarterback play in the division they're in, I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling to find 6 wins. I really am.
Bring it down. Tell us why.
Yeah, and if you split with the Commanders and Dallas, which I think is very possible, They open 3.
Oh,
of
the
their
Commanders are not going to be as good this year. I'm going to break that down there.
I'm with you. I'm with you on the Commanders. That's why I think they can easily split. They start at Washington, at Dallas, then they play the Chiefs, then they play the Chargers. Their first win may be week 5 at the Saints. Then you got the Eagles. Then you're at Denver. Then you're at the Eagles. Then you get the Niners. Then you're at the
Yeah,
Bears.
Sean, they have the toughest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
they have the
but they
number
can
one
win
toughest
6
schedule in the
games and still be shit.
I'm gonna have to say that this roster is much improved. That defense is much improved. It's going to keep them in a lot of games, but I think they're gonna fall just under this 5.5. I think they're gonna win 5 football games this year. I'm gonna take the under myself.
Yeah, and Sean, the Giants were a tough one for me. This is one where I think Vegas nailed it at 5.5. Like I think it's going to be 5 or 6, but I just think with the talent on the roster, they are capable of winning 6 football games. And I know
Sure.
Sean, the first thing I looked at for all these teams was strength of schedule, and of course the Giants came up toughest strength of schedule in the NFL. I just think as the season goes on, the Giants are going to start to kind of implement themselves as not the laughing stock of the NFL anymore, and they're going to be a tough.
I don't think
it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough matchup. I think they're like the best football team in the NFL, but with guys like Malik Neighbors, that running back room, and now you have Russell Wilson throwing the ball there as opposed to Daniel Jones or whoever else they've had there for the last 5 years. I mean, they've won 5. Let's look at the Giants' record for the last 3 seasons with the worst quarterback play in the NFL. So, Sean,
defense wins games. I think this front 7 will get them some wins because they're going to be a terror, especially if they're healthy. When I look at that schedule and I see some of the upper echelon teams in the NFL littered all over it, it's very hard for me to pick them at that 6 mark.
For sure. And it's any given Sunday. Here's the Giants' record over the last 3 seasons with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. 2022, they went 9-7. 2023, they went 6-11, and last year they went 3-14. So bad teams are capable of winning football games in the NFL. These are all professional football teams, and it's any given Sunday. If I'm not saying I love the Giants, but if all the 3 teams you just put up there, that would be the only team I would think has a chance to get the over for me personally. That's just me personally.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
6 wins is bottom third of the league. It's not like it's an accomplishment.
Yeah, Sean, I know you like Justin Fields and you're rooting for him. I think the Jets are going to be terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Here, I'll say this when it comes to
They always have been. They always have been.
I'll say this when it comes to the Jets. That schedule is pretty gosh darn easy. I mean, they play Carolina, they play the Saints, they play the Cleveland Browns. They play, and I know they said Atlanta has one of the best rosters in the league on that poll the other day. I'm not seeing it. I think
but Atlanta's better than the Jets.
Maybe.
I
think they split with the Dolphins.
Let's stick with the Jets.
I think they're better than Jacksonville. They're better than the Saints. I will almost say they'll split with New England because New England and the Jets every year, no matter what their rosters are, play very competitive football.
Well, let's dig into the Jets here a little bit. So this team is a team
if I'm saying they're going to win anything, I'm saying 6 games, and they just cracked this over.
That's where I'm at.
This is a team that last year had the same coaching staff, so they weren't implementing a new scheme, and they had Aaron Rodgers at the helm. They went 5-12. Last year, they hit the under with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They now have a brand new head coach in Aaron Glenn, a guy who's a defensive-minded coach. So this is not a guy who you're like, we're going to bring him in to help Justin Fields, right? Like he's going to get the best out of Justin Fields. Justin Fields has to learn what? His 3rd offense in 3 years? Yeah, his 3rd offense in 3 years. Justin Fields has to learn.
I'm with you, Dustin.
And it's on a team that doesn't have a ton of talent. Like, where's the talent on the Jets roster? Who do you like on the Jets roster?
I love Garrett Wilson. I love that.
There's one. Garrett Wilson's been there for the last 3 years, and they've been terrible.
Braylon Allen is good. Bryce,
yeah,
Braylon Allen
Breece Hall could be good.
Braylon Allen is not good.
I love Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is coming back off that injury. Now he's going to be ready to play. He's a big-time player. I have a little bit more faith in Justin Fields than you guys do, and I also look at this schedule. They have a very capable defense with Aaron Glenn. Their defense has been capable the last couple of years. They didn't lose a bunch of parts off that defense. I think Aaron Glenn will have that
Sean, their
That-
defense was very leaky last year.
No,
Very
hang on a
leaky.
second. So the Jets defense is tied with the Chiefs and the Cardinals for the 14th most sacks in the league at 39, but
that's what I'm
added
saying,
plus
dude.
207.9% in win probability on every one of those sacks, the second most in the NFL. So if they're sacking a lot, they're going to win the game. Like it's almost a sure thing. And they just hired probably one of the best defensive
You just
coordinators
said
in the
if
league.
they're sacking a lot, they're going to win the game. The Giants have the best defensive line in football.
Yeah, but they don't have this.
They're going to sack a lot. They're going to sack a lot.
Listen, I'll tell you this right now. Go look at the Jets schedule. There's 5 fluff matchups that this defense could definitely keep them in.
26th overall in schedule.
I'm taking the Jets at 5 wins. I think they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't think Justin Fields makes them a lot better. As a matter of fact, if you're talking about Justin Fields compared to Aaron Rodgers, I think they got worse on offense. I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. I don't think this team's going to sustain drives. I'm not touching any of the running backs or Garrett. If you want to get Garrett Wilson,
drafting.
You want Garrett Wilson in fantasy, be my guest. I'm not touching Breece Hall. I'm not
I
touching
said this before, and I say it again. Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson are going to feed families in the 2025
reunited, and it feels so
Exactly.
good.
Everybody defending Justin Fields last year, they're like, oh, look at him. He won 4 games. Yeah, he won 4 games under Mike Tomlin on the Steelers. How many games did he win in Chicago? His coach,
4.
what do we know about Aaron Glenn? Is Aaron Glenn some great coach that's going to get the most out of Justin Fields? I don't know a damn thing about Aaron Glenn as head coach. As a matter of fact, guys, what do you want to bet? Aaron Glenn is fired within 2 years.
Thank you, DJ Prophet. I appreciate the research.
The Jets suck. They're always going to suck. They've been one of the shittiest teams in the NFL for my entire life. They're always going to be one of the shittiest teams in the NFL, and it's not going to get. It's just.
We're choosing them over at 6, though. We're arguing for nothing. Let's move on to the next team.
I'm with Dustin. When it comes to this team, for me, it's also, he said it here, it's more about the defense and the teams that they're going to play. They're going to play multiple teams that don't have good quarterbacks. That defense should be able to get those wins for them, and all the offense has to do is not fuck it up.
Well, Sean,
what was the third team, Sean? Titans?
Yeah, the Titans.
The Titans? Yeah, the Titans. I got the Titans as an under.
They have the 29th easiest schedule, and I have them as the under. I literally tried so hard to find good stuff on these guys, and there just wasn't.
Just because there isn't.
Listen, Cam Ward is probably your X factor here. If he's a stud, maybe they do well, but they're still going to win less than 6 games. So you're probably good at the 5 on the under. But, if you're a Titans fan, you really, everything that you're doing right now is just like the Bears were last year. Hopefully your quarterback is good. And if he is, then you're fine for next year.
I'm just looking at the teams the Jets lost to last year. Like the Colts, the Cardinals beat them 31-6 with Aaron Rodgers. The Cardinals beat the Jets last year 31-6.
Cardinals were a good football team, dude.
Cardinals won 8 games. They won 8 games, man.
You're still on this thing, dude. We were at 6. All right.
We won 8 games.
Move on.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans, I'm taking the under. It's a brand new quarterback. There's not a ton of talent.
Their roster sucks.
Yeah, there's not a ton of talent on the Tennessee Titans roster.
They gave $82 million to Dan Moore Jr., who's terrible.
Yeah, but you know what? You guys are sitting here talking up the Jets and hammering the Titans. You want to hear the Titans record? They were 6-11, 7-10 and then last year 3-14. Before that, they were just as competitive as the Jets.
That's because Will Levis was putting mayonnaise on the ball.
I think the Titans made a terrible mistake in firing Mike Vrabel. I think it's the dumbest thing they've ever done in the history of their franchise.
Probably.
I think they're going to suffer the consequences for the next 3 or 4 years. I have the Titans as way. I think the Titans are also going to be in competition for the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, they'll be battling.
I think all the teams we've talked about are going to be in that conversation, except for the Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to have the first pick in the draft. I don't.
I don't think they will, because I think they're going to sneak out 5 wins. But
yeah.
I don't see that. I don't see that with the Titans and the Browns. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, the Browns and Titans are going to be terrible. How the Saints are listed at 6.5 is absolutely mind blowing to me. I don't understand. Yeah. Where are they getting 7 wins? Where are the New Orleans Saints getting 7 wins?
The Saints, to me, are the worst team in the NFL.
They have no corner. They have no quarterback and a brand new coach installing a new scheme. Where are they getting 7 wins?
Listen, I'll tell you what. If Vegas had them at 1 win, I would still take the under.
There's no way the Saints. Do you guys even want to get into the Saints?
No,
I'm going under on the Saints.
I think the Saints are the worst team in football.
Yeah, 100%.
I believe the New Orleans Saints are the worst. Who's the quarterback?
Who, the Saints?
Yeah,
it's
who's the
gonna
quarterback?
it's Jack Hayner and
Didn't
they
they
drafted him last year. God, why can't I
Shuck?
remember his name?
Shuck, the 27-year-old. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
Shuck.
they're going to be
They
atrocious.
have another quarterback though. They drafted last year. He came in.
Who
and started
cares?
a couple
He's not
games.
good. Also,
Who cares?
Um,
And then you guys, you know what's the worst part about it? Sean, you talk about strength schedule. The Saints have the second easiest schedule in the NFL, and I still don't think they're going to get 6 wins.
no, Saints are not going to.
They're terrible.
They're not going to win. Spencer Rattler, that was the other guy. Spencer.
Oh,
Rattler.
Rattler.
you know what? I'm changing my pick.
They're going to get 2 wins. They're going to get 2 wins.
All right, let's go to the Raiders because I think we all agree the Saints are the worst team in the NFL, right?
yes,
I am taking the over
I'll
on
tell
the
you this.
Raiders all day.
Because of this, I'm already coming up with a parlay, and it's going to include the Browns under, the Saints under, and I'll get some more here. But I'm going to be making a parlay here.
And listen, I'm actually a push on this score. I thought I saw them at 7.5, 6.5. I would probably take the over, but at 7.5, I'm going to take a push. And the only reason is I think they're much improved. I think their coaching staff got a lot better. But they're in a division. You guys got to remember with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think the Chargers got better. I think the Broncos got better. And the Raiders, even though they got better, I don't know that they can necessarily compete with those teams right now because I think they're like a year behind them. They did add Geno Smith, Raheem Mostert. They got a pretty nice safety in Jeremy Chin. The Raiders defense surprisingly generated a higher pressure rate with Max Crosby off the field than they did with him on the field. In week 14, when they lost them, the Raiders blitzed 13.6% less and relied more on Tyree Wilson and Kalavon Chizon. Listen, I'm pretty sure that was a made-up name, but it's correct. Who have each generated 3 or more pressures in each of those last 3 games. Surprisingly, they were better with their defense without Max Crosby. I think that's going to change. I think it was a fluke. I think they were just maybe trying harder and got more opportunities. But when Max Crosby gets back in there, you've got your addition of Ashton Genty. You got Brock Bowers from last year. You've got Sean, your guy, Jack Beck in there, Besh, whatever his name is. I think they're going to be much improved, but I don't know how many games they can win in that division. I think that division might be one of the harder, if not.
That's the best division of football. I think it's surpassed the NFC North. And
It's really hard.
I'm going to take the Raiders over. And the reason I'm doing that, guys, is because Pete Carroll has coached in the NFL. I believe it's either 17 or 19 seasons. I don't remember. Guess how many seasons he's won less than 7 games?
I don't think he ever
0.5.
1. And he won 6. He's won less than 7 games once in his career, and he won 6 games. Pete Carroll, and you talk about the transition for quarterbacks, learning new offenses. What did he do? He went to the Las Vegas Raiders, is instilling his offense. Oh, and he brought Geno Smith over, who knows his entire offense and played under him for 3 years. I mean, this is basically like the exact same team, but with much better skill position players. Brock Bowers is going to be an absolute stud in the NFL for the years to come. I believe that what's his name from the Boise State? He's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL for the next 10 years. Jacoby Myers is more than capable pass catcher. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. Oh yeah, and by the way, they had a Jack Beck. I mean, to me, I don't see how the Raiders win less than 7 games. And you're right, Jason. This is one of the toughest divisions in football, if not the toughest division in football. I think the Broncos have improved. I think the Chargers have improved. Oh yeah, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. But I still think the Raiders can find a way to squeeze out 7 wins. And the Raiders are tied for 16th toughest strength of schedule. So they're right in the middle of the pack. It's not like it's the toughest schedule in the NFL. It's also not the easiest schedule in the NFL. And remember, guys, when it comes to strength of schedule, that's based off of last season. And you know how much the NFL changes year to year. But yeah, with Gianti, Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Jack Beck, and a coaching staff that is implementing an offense that Geno Smith has already ran for the last 3 years, I don't see how the Raiders don't win 7 games, especially with a coach who's won less than 7 games once in his entire career. And he's been in the NFL for what, 17 years, 19 years now? I think the Raiders are being slept on. I think they're going to be one of the surprise teams in the AFC this year. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go win somewhere around 8 or 9 games.
Well, I'm going to buck the trend here. They had 4 wins last year against the Panthers, the Saints, who are god awful, and that was the last one of the last weeks of the season. They beat the Jaguars. They were competitive in their own division.
They always are.
They were, but they didn't find a way to win those games. I think that they will this year find a couple, but I also think that the teams in their division got better than last year. The Broncos, I think, are a better team than they were last year. I think the Chargers are a better team than they were last year, and obviously the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Raiders always give the Chiefs fits. I think.
Yeah, Sean, they had the 9th ranked defense in the NFL last year, the Las Vegas Raiders.
And they won 4 games, and they gave up a lot of points to.
And they didn't have Christian Wilkinson. Or Wilkins, or whatever his name.
He's coming back.
Yeah,
Based on the schedule. Based on the schedule for me with these guys, I hate to, because he does have a history of getting 7 wins, but I like them right at 6. I like them right at 6. That's a 2-game improvement from last year. I can't pick them against this division, dude, because I honestly think that the Broncos and the Chiefs are going to be battling for the division, and the Chargers are going to be nipping at their heels.
This is a division battle you want to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know where everybody else is.
Dude, the Raiders were competing
against Raiders over.
The Raiders were competing against the Chiefs when the Raiders sucked. This roster does not suck. There's a lot of talent on the Raiders roster.
I don't think the Raiders roster sucks.
Yeah, you hear people saying the Bears
They're just rebuilding. Everything's new.
I have them at 6. I'm keeping them at 6 wins. That's where I'm at. I'm looking at this schedule. I'm looking at their schedule at New England. That's a game they can win. Then they play the Chargers at Washington. Game they can win. That's 2. There's people in the chat saying they could beat the Bears in week 4. That would be 3 wins. At the Colts would be.
Don't bring that into like the ether. Get out of here.
They're definitely beat the Colts.
Hey, you know what? Based on the schedule, I am going to take them at 7 wins. I am going to take the over, because the fluff in the middle of that schedule with the Colts, the Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, that would push them over, because I think at the beginning of the season, especially week 1, I think they'll be a little bit more prepared than New England will be in week 1. And again, I just don't think the Commanders did enough on defense to be better than last year. I think they caught a lot of luck, and we'll get into them a little bit later, especially what they faced down the stretch last season. So yeah, you know what? Now that I look at their schedule and I study it, I'm going to take the Raiders in the over. I'm going to take the Raiders over
at the 6.5. Yeah, I had them at a push at 7.5 because that was NFL.
I really do believe that. And I know the guy has a bunch of notoriety and people love him. People know he's a good coach, but I think Pete Carroll's even better coach than people think. I mean, when I looked at the statistics the other day of Pete Carroll's career, how is he not in the same conversation as, like, everybody talks about Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. All right, Pete Carroll's had like 4. He's been in the NFL for 19 years. He's had like 4. And he's had some terrible quarterbacks. Terrible. Some of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen play football have been on Pete Carroll's teams, and outside of Russell Wilson. And this guy still manages to win more than 7 games every single year. And you know what? I don't see how the Raiders lose. I don't see how they don't win 7 games. I think it's a very good football team.
When I look at it too,
not like amazing, but they're young and coming up. The Raiders are a team to watch out for a couple of years. If they could get a quarterback, like an actual quarterback, the Raiders would be.
Geno Smith's done his fair share of winning.
Yeah, he's capable.
Games last year, he's not a Super Bowl champ, but
they just keep adding all these offensive weapons, and nobody's noticing. Like Brock Bowers if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be the best tight end conversation in the NFL. And then you add Ashton Gianti, who's by all accounts a freak of nature and has God-given talent. It doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to be good. And on top of that, Jacoby Myers and Jack Peck are your receiving core. That's a better team than people think it is, for sure.
I'll just say this: we're gonna have to be a lot quicker in this next one, because there's a lot of teams at 7.5, my friends. We didn't even touch Carolina, but I'm going under on Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going under on Carolina. Carolina, I think, is the worst organization in the NFL for me personally, guys. Right now, I think they have taken over as the worst organization in the NFL. I'm going under. I don't like Bryce Young. Everybody knows that. I'm not a huge Bryce Young fan. I don't believe it. I think that he's going to he's not going to win a Super Bowl in Carolina. They're going to end up moving on from it at some point. Maybe they do it halfway through the season.
Hey guys, I'm taking the under. Been here before?
I don't know if I remember Razzle Dazzle. What's going on?
Well, Razzle, I don't know if you have, but if you have or you haven't, thanks for showing up. Really, really appreciate you, brother. Spending a little time with us on this fine Wednesday in Chicago.
We all got the under on the Panthers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And this next one,
By the
man,
way, if you want a really bad stat for
Dude,
quarterbacks,
Jason,
Bears
I thought you were about to say no. I'm like, Jason.
No. So Bryce Young, going into Week 18 last year, Bryce Young had 2 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions in each of his last 2 games, making him the first Panthers quarterback to do so since Cam Newton in 2018. That's how bad it is there.
Yeah, and they went 5-12.
They've generated the lowest pressure rate in the NFL on defense at 25%, despite blitzing at the 9th highest rate. Dude, they're not good. Take the under.
They've had 7 losing seasons in a row.
And guys, if you guys care at all, Google. Someone put it up on the internet on Twitter. Xavier Legette, and if anyone doesn't know about Xavier Legette, this is a true country dude. He eats squirrels, catches birds, and rips their heads off. I'm not kidding, Kyle. He has this on X. Like, this dude is a complete country bumpkin, and I'm going to tell you this right now. They sent him to his first NHL hockey game, and watching him was probably more entertaining than the freaking game. It was awesome. Look it up on X.
He probably wants to play hockey now.
I like Xavier. I love the accent.
Is an interesting.
I love Xavier. I like the accent. I like everything about him, man. He seems like a cool dude, but I just don't think he's good enough to make this football team win.
No.
And
But I will tell you this, man. Tet McMillan, dude, he's the real deal. And Jason, I know you don't agree with me on this, but Tet McMillan is the real freaking deal, man.
You know what, dude?
Going to be a legit NFL wide receiver, man.
Dude, they signed Brady Christensen, who I actually have been championing for a long time on all of our offensive line talk. They signed him for $2.87 million. That guy's probably one of the cheapest, most versatile offensive linemen in the league. They got him for under $3 million.
You guys, I think they want to lose. Why did the Carolina Panthers part ways with Jadeveon Clowney? Why? What does that do for the Panthers?
I don't know. What
does that do for you?
I don't know.
You just get worse on defense. You're already bad they need all the help on defense they can get, and they cut probably their best defensive lineman. It just doesn't make sense. I love the Dustin Jones.
I'll tell you.
Although Bryce Young breakout season loading.
between some of these teams, it's the race for Arch Manning. I mean,
100%.
I think some of these teams are purposely going to suck. I agree with you, Sean.
Yeah,
Sean,
because it's tank for Arch, dude. Like it was tank for Tua, it's tank for Arch, dude.
You can tell.
And Sean, there might be a couple other guys in that conversation as well. There's a couple good quarterbacks coming into college football this year. Sean, who do you got?
Boys,
at 7.5?
We got 6. We got 6 teams at 7.5 wins. So let's try.
Let's go over maybe the interesting ones.
All right, so we got the Falcons, the Jags,
the
Boys, the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Colts.
7.5. Jason, lead us off with the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, NFC South. There we go.
Falcons are a tough one. The Falcons are a tough one.
I actually have them as a push. So they got the 20th toughest schedule. They added Jake Matthews, Leonard Floyd. He's not my favorite guy, but he gets double-digit sacks every year for some reason. They signed safety Jordan Fuller. They drafted a pair of edge rushers in Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., which I think is a really good decision for them because they definitely need help in the defensive arena. Drake London is a stud. 1,084 receiving yards in 2024 made him the first Falcons wide receiver to reach 1,000-yard mark since Calvin Ridley. That's how crazy that is. Look, I don't know. I think they lost a lot. They didn't gain a lot. I'm a push.
They didn't have any money.
Yeah, they didn't have any money. They're a push, which is why we got Drew Dahlman, really, when it comes down to it.
I actually am going to take the Falcons as the over, and I'm going to put them at 8 wins on the dot. And the reason that is because the Falcons have a pretty good receiver. I like Darnell Mooney, and I like Drake London a lot. I think Kyle Pitts is probably better than people give him credit for. He's just been on a pretty bad team with bad quarterback play. I do think Michael Penix is going to be a capable NFL quarterback, if not a good NFL quarterback. And on top of that, you throw the fact that Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are probably one of the most underrated running back tandems in the NFL. The only problem with I have the Atlanta Falcons is their defense, but they did address that in the draft. And then you guys, on top of that, they played the Panthers and Saints twice each. That should be 4 wins for the Falcons, right? Sean, do you disagree?
No, I agree.
I mean, that should be 4 wins right there. They just need to scrape up another 4 wins. I'm not confident. I wouldn't bet the Falcons over.
No, I would not either.
Under my head,
I
taking
think there's a
over
lot to
7.5.
prove for Michael Penix still, man.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Michael
I like
Penix,
Michael Penix. I like
so do
Michael
I. And I liked Bo Nix. I liked Drake May. I liked all the quarterbacks in that draft, and they've all looked pretty good. I expect Michael Penix to do the same. And I understand that in terms of his on-field play, he hasn't had a ton of reps. But you guys, he did get to sit on the bench and learn for a long time, and that's huge for quarterbacks in the NFL. We saw what it did for Patrick Mahomes. We saw what it did for Aaron Rodgers. I think Michael Penix is actually going to be better than Kirk Cousins was last year. And last year, the Falcons finished with how many wins? I think they finished with what? 7? No, 8 and 9. They went 8 and 9 last year, and I think Michael 8 and 9. And then the last 3 seasons, they've gone 7 and 10, 7 and 10, 8 and 9. So I think they can get over that 7.5 wins. Although they have not had a winning season since 2017. I just think Michael Penix is probably going to be pretty good quarterback, and I think the Falcons are a better team than we think they are. And you know what? Bijan Robinson is an absolute stud muffin.
Yeah, and they were much improved, obviously, with Penix late in the season there. They almost made the playoffs, guys. Don't forget that. They almost made the playoffs.
I like this Falcons team. The Falcons team is a team I'm going to keep an eye on because I think they're going to be fun to watch.
I like this Falcons team. I didn't agree with they have the 10th most talented roster.
No, that's ridiculous.
In the league, in that I can't remember where that report was from the other day that we saw it, and I was like, I don't know about that.
The Atlanta Falcons Daily. I don't know.
I'm like, not so sure about that. I will tell you though, there was a stout connection between Michael Penix and Drake London last year. And I have those stats written down. I'm just trying to find them. Last year, Michael, the last. This is just a little fantasy preview for you guys when we start doing this stuff because this is from my fantasy stuff. Drake London averaged 23.1 fantasy points per game, 7.3 receptions, and 117 yards per game with Michael Penix last year. So they do have very good rapport. That would, if they would have played the full season together, that would have been 110 catches, 1,200 yards, and 10 touchdowns. That could be what's incoming with Michael Penix and Drake London. I like them. I like them right at this borderline, and I'm with you, Kyle. I wouldn't bet it, but they're right at that 8-win mark, especially when you look at that schedule. They tinker around a little bit.
Well, you guys and I love their draft.
Their draft was good.
Draft was good. I'm telling you.
Adding defensive studs. They fixed all the Dustin put it.
Jalen Walker at James Pierce Jr. Bam. Great.
They fixed all their holes, man. I mean, Justin said they had the perfect draft for what they needed. Pass rush and secondary improved drastically from Ray Morris. Yeah. I think the Falcons are going to be a team. This is a team that I think could be a fringe playoff team for the NFC. Yeah. I really do.
They were last year. Why wouldn't they be this year? They got better.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good. I just when I go down their schedule, there's some iffy games that they can win. Buffalo at San Francisco. I think that they'll split with or not split with New England.
If you say split with New Orleans, I'm gonna.
They can sweep New Orleans. They can sweep Carolina. They could beat the Jets. They can beat the Seahawks.
It's a pretty weak division. Yeah,
it's a weak division, and the way their schedule is set up, it kind of works in their favor. I mean, this could actually be an 8-9 win team based on some of the teams that they have to play here. So
they could easily get 4 wins just between the Panthers and the Saints. So
you guys and the Falcons have the 20th hardest schedule in the NFL. So that'd be 12th easiest schedule in the NFL with a 478 win percentage based off of last year. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. This is a tough one.
Ooh, is that me? I'll go. The NFC East. All right, I'm over on the Cowboys. I'm going to tell you why. I'm stretching here. I know they're not the greatest in the world, but they added Miles Sanders. They do have the 5th hardest schedule, by the way, but that's, I think, because of the NFC North, NFC East sort of pairing there. They added Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, George Pickens. We'll see how good he does on the opposite side of CeeDee Lamb. They added edge Dante Fowler. In the draft, they added a guard, Kyler Booker, who I thought was pretty good. Edge Donovan Ezaraku is going to be a nice little pairing to see what happens with him and Micah Parsons at the other side. But running back Jadon Blue, I don't know. We'll see what happens. They did lose Rico Dowdle, Brandon Cooks, guard Zach Martin retired. But here's some key stats. Micah Parsons generated 50 pressures since returning from injury in week 10 last year, 11 more than any other player, and led the league, with 8.5 sacks during that span. In addition to his high production value, he has recorded an average time to pressure of 2.57 seconds since week 10, second quickest amongst defenders with at least 20 total pressures. Can that run game sustain Rico Dowdle without that? And can the defense get better with Donovan Ezaraku? I think it can. I think those are the keys. And then if Dak Prescott's healthy, they're going to be fine. When Dak Prescott's healthy, they're very, very good.
Yeah, I got the over. I'm taking the over. And I don't think it's going to be much over 7.5. I got them at 8 or 9 wins, but I do think the Cowboys are a better team with Dak Prescott on the field. That's what I'm saying. If you look at the record, 2022, 12-5, 2023, 12-5, and then last year, Dak only played 8 games. They went 7-10. I think Dak Prescott's probably a little overrated, but definitely a better quarterback than average. And I think adding Jadon Blue in the draft was huge for them. I think adding George Pickens on the other side of CeeDee Lamb was huge for them. I really like Tolbert as their number 3 receiver. I think this team on paper, their offense is actually pretty good. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. And yeah, by the way, they added Tyler Booker to the offensive line in this draft. And I think their defense with Micah Parsons is going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. So I do have them over 7.5 wins, although I don't think it's going to be by much. I think the Cowboys do fall just shy of the playoffs this season.
Well, I'm gonna be the difference maker here because I have the Cowboys sitting at about 6 wins.
Wow.
They do have a very good offense. Don't know that I believe in the coaching staff. The loss of Dexter Lawrence is pretty huge, or DeMarcus Lawrence, excuse me, is pretty huge. In the middle of the defense, Ezaraku, you want to throw him in there. He's a rookie.
Eberflus is over there. Their defense might be slightly better. Don't be surprised to see an uptick.
It's a tough division. I see them splitting.
Yeah.
I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles to sweep them. I like them splitting with Washington. And honestly, I like them splitting with the Giants. And then I look down the rest of their schedule, and it's just not that easy. They come through Chicago. They play they got Green Bay at home, which
they're going to beat the shit out of.
I hope so. At Denver again, I'm a little bit higher on Arizona, obviously, than you guys are, or at least you, Kyle. Then they're at Las Vegas. They have the Eagles. Then the Chiefs. Then at the Lions. Then Minnesota. Then the Chargers. That is a tough 6-week stretch where I don't think they're better than any of those teams, to be honest with you. Minnesota, we'll see where their quarterback situation is come week 15, but at Detroit is going to be tough. Kansas City, obviously going to be tough. Philadelphia, obviously. They are stacked.
Yeah, but the Cowboys could compete with anybody because that offense.
I'm not saying they can't compete. I don't think they're good enough to win. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I got them. Like I said, I got them at 8 wins. It's not 8 or 9 wins. It's not like I'm saying the Cowboys are going to be the best team in the NFL. I just think the offense and the experience of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb's one of the toughest guys in the NFL to cover. And then you had Jadon Blue. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be a great football team. I think they're going to fall short of the playoffs, but I do think they're capable of getting 8 wins this season for sure. Sean, let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts, and I think we could get through this one pretty quickly, guys.
Under, they suck. Anthony Richardson got a 61.6 passer rating. It's the 3rd worst by a quarterback with at least 250 pass attempts since 2010, ahead of only Jimmy Clausen, in 2010, and Mr. I believe it was a Fighting Irish, Deshaun Kaiser in 2017. They're just not good. They added Tyler Warren, which maybe he's going to be good, maybe he's not. And an edge in JT Tiamaulo. Who cares? I don't know what they're doing over there. They signed Shavarius Ward for $60 million, the 149th overall cornerback per Pro Fantasy Football. And then Cameron Bynum, who also got $60 million, but he didn't get the $35 million guaranteed. I don't know what's going on. They're overpaying and underpaying. They got the 25th easiest schedule, but somehow are still going to wind up under that 7.5 mark.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into the Colts. We're on a time crunch here, but the
They
Colts, it's a guaranteed under for me. I think if the only person in the world whose heart was broken more than Sean Lugo when Tyler Warren did not get drafted by the Bears was Tyler Warren himself not getting drafted by the Bears and falling to the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to have Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson throwing him the ball. There's just no good scenario for the Indianapolis Colts this season. Not to mention the division has gotten tougher as well. I think the Titans are capable of beating the Colts. I think Jacksonville Jaguars are certainly capable of beating the Colts, and I think that the Texans will sweep them. I don't have the Colts winning more than 7.5 games. I'll put them at like 6 or 7, somewhere around there. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Colts team at all in any way, shape, or form.
I have the under. I don't need to speak about the Colts at all. They're not. There's not a lot of talent.
2 names: Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. Let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, guys.
I'm a push on this. I'm not sure if everything's
Jason, you and your pushes, man.
Dude, I think they're going to win like 7.5. Like, I don't know. You can take it if you want, but I wouldn't bet this. That's basically what I'm saying. Don't bet this. Don't bet the over or the under.
Yeah, there's a lot of these teams that I tell you. I wouldn't bet the Cowboys. I wouldn't bet the Colts. I wouldn't bet the Jaguars.
Brian Thomas Jr. led all rookies with like 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Like, he's the 4th rookie in Super Bowl era to have at least 1,000 yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. They're going to be okay, but I just don't know how good they're going to be. I'm
going to put the Jaguars right at 8 wins. I think the Jaguars do get better this season. And, I understand that people think Duvall is their coach, William Cohen, is kind of a joke. He's kind of a joke. But I think he's certainly better than the previous coaching staff. And I think Travis Hunter is a really good weapon for Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence kind of is who we all think he is. I don't think he's a generational talent like everybody thought he was going to be coming out of the draft, but I think he can win football games.
Does Travis Hunter and Bashal Tutin help?
The Jacksonville Jaguars are in one of the weakest divisions in football. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars can win 8 or 9 games. I like Brian Thomas a lot. I like Travis Hunter on the other side of them. I think their defense has some really capable pieces. You talk about guys like Josh Allen, and who's the other defense fan they drafted number 1 overall a couple of years ago. I do think the Jaguars are a better team than they were last year, but they're certainly not going to make the playoffs or anything. I got the Jaguars over 7.5. Sean?
I got them right at 7. I mean,
yeah, not surprised. I mean, so we're all right there.
Yeah, we're all right there. Be 7 or 8 teetering. Like, to your point, I love Brian Thomas Jr. I'll wait to see.
And you like Travis Etienne?
I was just gonna say, I know everyone's written him off and everyone's forgot about him. I hate to tell you this, but Duval County has it, and he's going to be, when we do this down the road, my comeback player of the year. I don't give a shit that they've got Bashal Tutin. Bashal Tutin fumbles the ball every 3 times he touches it. You do that in the NFL, you're going to be holding the clipboard. You're not going to be running behind an offensive line. I still love Travis Etienne. I do like this offense. I don't know where I am with this far into his career. I don't know where I am with Trevor Lawrence yet. He shows the flashes and then he disappears. And man, this one's so hard.
Well, he hasn't had a lot of help, and his coaching staff sucks.
He finally does. He finally does. He finally does.
Could Liam Cohen be worse than Doug Peterson? Is that a possibility?
It's going to be better.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson is trash.
I'm right on the cusp. I'm gonna steal a line from Jason. This is a push.
Well, you guys, here's the Jaguars' record of the last 3 seasons: 2022 9-8, 2023 9-8, 2024 4-13. So
I like it right at 7-8 win range. I mean, I think they're better than the Titans. I think they can win. They can win most of their games in their division, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I think they're in a very weak division, and all you got to do is win 4 more. Sweep the Colts, sweep the Colts, sweep the Titans, and then win 4 more. I think they're capable of doing that. As a matter of fact,
how happy are you if you're a Texan?
I think there's going to be times where the Jaguars look really good. I don't think it's going to be a lot.
You want to know the truth, dude? They play, even though the talent level is supposedly different, they play the Texans pretty tough as well. So interdivision games are very hard. So if you think, we think they can sweep the Colts and sweep the Titans, maybe they split with the Texans, and now there's 5 wins right there. So
I don't know. I think the Texans are going to be a good football team. Sean,
can you bring up? They're going to be a good football team too, but interdivision games, man, you never know what can happen.
You talk about a free ride.
The Browns beat the Ravens last year.
Houston Texans got a ticket to ride. Yeah.
So,
did Lamar Jackson start in that game?
I don't think he missed a game last year. I don't think Lamar Jackson missed a game last year. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure he didn't.
How did the Houston?
Who's next on the list?
Miss. The Patriots.
Oh God.
What's that about?
Go ahead, Jason.
No, he played all 17 games in 2014. So, or 2024, excuse me. So yeah, Lamar Jackson lost to the Cleveland Browns, and this is
Yeah, but was it one of those situations
we're
where
not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight, my friends.
Was it one of those situations where he got like hurt at halftime or something? Like, I'm just gonna check. No, yeah, he played the entire game.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a high scoring affair, if I'm not
Yeah, that's
mistaken.
crazy. Yeah, it was 24-29 Browns. All right, Jason, give us your Patriots thoughts here.
You know, my Patriot thoughts are this. You guys are gonna laugh. For me, it's another like fade this. Don't bet this because honestly, I don't think their division is that difficult outside of the Bills. They have the 30th easiest schedule, right? Strength of schedule, and now they got this. You know, their Jesus Christ coach that came in to help them out. I think they're gonna do pretty well. It wouldn't surprise me if they go over. But it's going to be because they have just such an easy schedule. It's like they're not that great. Drake, this year they had a really easy schedule as well. Drake May is decent, but not that great. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to help. I don't think I guess Will Campbell will and Travion Henderson possibly. Kyle Williams, Kyle, I know you liked him, but I don't know. They had a decent draft, but those guys are young, and I don't know how quick of an impact they're going to have. So.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Jason. I'm not going to take them to the under. I think they're going to win 7 games, and the reason I'm taking the under is because all the talent you just talked about and how good it is. It takes time, man. You can't just throw 50 in. The Patriots spent the most money of any team in the offseason, so that tells you that they added a lot of new pieces and a new coach implementing a new scheme. Like, yeah, I mean. It takes a long time to get these guys all on the same page, build that cohesiveness. I think the Patriots are on a good path, and I like their future, especially with Mike Vrabel. But I don't think they're winning more than 7 wins.
People are going to get excited. They're going to be the team that all the media talks about.
7 wins.
Kyle. I can show you my paper. I have 7 written down as the number for the New England Patriots this year.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
Defensive line sucks.
Well, I may be more than most when it comes to Drake May. I believe Drake May is Josh Allen light. He has all the attributes, big arm.
Yeah, it took Josh Allen a couple years.
It took him a couple of years. I'm a big fan of Drake May. I was a big fan coming into the league. He started to come into his own towards the second half of the season. He's obviously going to make mistakes. He's a rookie quarterback, and I just think he's going to continue to grow. But I am with you. I have them at 7 wins. Would I be surprised if they wound up with 8 or 9? Probably not, because Mike Vrabel's going to have this team prepared and he's going to have them ready.
They're smack dab in the middle of a rebuild.
Yeah,
and I like the way the rebuild is going. I'm not hating on the Patriots. I like, it's just this is a team that had the least amount of sacks.
They had one of my favorite drafts.
Yeah, and they had the least amount of sacks in the NFL last year. I think 23 or something like that. I mean, that's terrible. And they had 9 of them against the Bears. So you talk about a team that can't rush the quarterback and the second-year quarterback's learning a brand new offensive scheme. I just think the Patriots are 1 year behind, right? They're just 1 year. We all like the way they're going. They're just not there yet.
Right.
All right, Sean, who's next on the list?
We got I'm just gonna tell you guys, I'm not gonna spend any time on this one. It's the Seattle Seahawks. I have them at the under. I think they're
taking the
have
under.
4 or 5 wins. I don't need to talk about the Seahawks because
you're about to see who Sam Darnold really is.
You're about to find out exactly.
Damn right. Without Kevin O'Connell.
Starts and ends for me.
Yep. Without Kevin O'Connell, let's see who Sam Darnold. I like Cooper Kupp. I don't think he can stay healthy. I don't think his presence is going to be there enough to make that team a very good team. I'm taking Seattle under. You guys know when we did our rankings for the NFL teams, I had Seattle at the bottom of the list. I think they're going to be a terrible football team. I think they will also be in the conversation for first pick in the draft, which they should be because then they could replace Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I'm on the under as well, but I think they had actually a pretty good draft with Gray Zabel, Nick Emenworry, a pretty good tight end, and Elijah Arroyo. And then, they drafted Jalen Milroe this year as well, too. So I don't think they're going to be that good this year. They got the 22nd easiest schedule, or hardest schedule, I should say, rather. They're just not that good. They're in a really tough division that got better this year. So I would take the under on that 8.5, like maybe by 2 games, to be honest with
you. Yeah, I agree with you, Jason.
Well, we're moving on. We got 4 categories left to get through, and this next one's going to take us a minute, I have a feeling. But that's right. We got our Bears.
Yeah, there they are.
We got our Cardinals. We got our Dolphins, our Vikings, and the Steelers.
Sean, start us off the Cardinals since you like them so much. Let's convince us that they're going to win 9 games.
What's that?
I will.
So convince us that the Cardinals are going to win 9 football games this season. I want to hear it.
Well, for one, I know everyone's down on Kyler Murray, and that could be the biggest detriment to the team. But they did show improvement last year. All in all, they were a lot better. People had them down rated as one of the worst teams in the league. They were the exact opposite of that. Jonathan Gannon had this team prepared every single week to go out and compete. They pulled some upsets that people didn't see coming, like beating the Niners when the Niners were still healthy. No one saw that coming. And I just think their detriment to me will be Kyler Murray, but he can still go out and win football games for this team. And I like the talent around him. I thought their draft was outstanding this year. It's going to take obviously time for them to gel as you implement these young kids into the NFL. But when you look at their regular season schedule, you start off with the Saints, then you go to the Panthers, then you play the Niners, then you get the Seahawks, then you get the Titans, then you play the Colts. Then it gets a little bit tougher with the Packers and the Cowboys. But I mean, and then you play Seattle again. This time you'll be in Seattle. This time you'll be at home versus the Niners. Then you get Jacksonville. You're at Tampa. You get the Rams, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Bengals, and then the Rams to finish it up. This is what are they at, 8.5? I could see them with that schedule I just gave you. I think the Cardinals could definitely win 9 games. Not to mention the fact they have an excellent running game. And I'm sorry, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to take off this year. If Drew Petzing can get his head out of his ass and learn how to run the offense through.
Yeah, that's a big if.
But big if. I mean, what did they do last year? What did they finish with last year?
8-9.
8-9. I think they're one win better than
that. Last 3 seasons, 4-13, 4-13, 8-9, and in the last 10 years, the Cardinals have had 2 winning seasons. I don't believe this is a very good organization. I don't believe in Kyler Murray. I think he sucks. I think they're actually going to end up moving on from Kyler Murray pretty soon here. Kyler Murray's his best season in the NFL in terms of touchdowns was 26. His best season in the NFL in terms of yards was 3,900. This guy's been in the NFL for 6 years now. He's not a rookie anymore. This is who he is. He's inconsistent. He doesn't play well, and he can't stay on the field. I think James Conner is another guy who gets hurt often. I think this Cardinals, if they sustain any injuries at all, are not going to be able to overcome them. They sustain injuries a lot. So I have the Cardinals at 7-8 wins, definitely under the 8.5. And I think the Cardinals are going to disappoint a lot of people this year. I do think Marvin Harrison's going to get better, but I mean, with Kyler Murray throwing 3,700 yards, 39, 37, 26, 17, 30, how much better can you possibly get? I think Marvin Harrison would be way better off in a different organization. I think he's a much better player. I think the Arizona Cardinals stink, and I think they're going to finish the season with 7 or 8 wins. I'm taking the under.
I'll tell you where I'm at. I'm at the over. Part of it is kind of with Sean here. They got the 27th toughest schedule, which would be the 5th easiest.
Yeah, but people playing Arizona are like, hey, at least we got Arizona on the schedule.
Listen, they added Josh Sweat and Clay Campbell. They added a linebacker, Akeem Davis-Walker. I love their first 3 picks in the draft, Sean, just like you. Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, and Jordan Birch. They didn't lose very much. They did lose their kicker. But here's some key stats here. With 7 receptions in week 18, Trey McBride had 221 career catches, officially passing 49ers tight end George Kittle for the most receptions by a tight end in their first 3 seasons. James Conner had 84 missed tackles this season, 5th most amongst all skill position players. And he also recorded 513 yards after those missed tackles, 6th highest amongst NFL running backs. Listen, I'll tell you what, if McBride and Conner are as good as they are and their quarterback stays healthy like every team, so I don't really want to consider that much, but they're really, for me, the X factor here, if Marvin Harrison Jr. can be anything and continue, wink, wink, to follow his Fowler's career arc, dude, they're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Where do you get those? Where are you basing that for Kyler Murray? He's never done it. He's never been a 4,000-yard passer.
Here, I'm not saying. I just told you their detriment will be Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that's a huge detriment. That's the most important position on the team.
But he's not terrible, dude. He's not garbage.
I do think he's capable enough to win games in this league. And Kyle, you have to remember when you go back to those records that they had the last couple of years, Kyler Murray wasn't the quarterback. He missed seasons.
Yeah. So when you're
So if he
taking over
stays
runners,
healthy, I think
yeah,
he's capable of
but you-
beating this schedule. That schedule, all the teams that we just said sucked are on the Cardinals schedule.
I know,
They're
but when
better
you're
than those teams.
when you're picking the over unders, if he's often injured, you probably want to consider the fact that there's a good chance he gets injured, right?
Hey, he
I
made
mean,
it through the season last year.
would you bet on
The
J.K.
biggest hurdle
Dobbins
is their
finishing the season?
Here, I'll say
I mean,
this.
no.
I'm not gonna. I can't base my decision on something that may happen. Right now, he's healthy. He's a starting quarterback, and I'll go off the assumption, much like last year, he started every single game, that he's going to do that again. And when I look at the opponents on the schedule, I think they're better than
I mean,
8 teams, at least.
If they win 9
Sean,
games,
I agree with
still might
you.
not make
I
the
agree with you,
playoffs.
Sean. Usually, you can't predict injuries, but when this guy's been injured for 3 of the last 4 seasons, then you can start swaying your decision a little bit if you think he's going to get injured. If this guy is a guy who's,
there for sure.
if it's Derrick Rose on a football field, you could probably guess he's going to get injured, right? At some point,
Here, look.
Kyler Murray might miss a couple games.
If I'm saying, hey, bet with confidence they're going to win 9 games, no, they were 8-9 last year. I can see them being 8-9 this year. I can also see them being 9-8 because that schedule, when you have the Saints, the Panthers, freaking Indianapolis, all the teams we just said sucked on your schedule, I think they're better than those teams. I have to give them the wins in those games where we are today, right now, knowing that Kyler Murray is the starting quarterback because he'll use his legs and keep the defense off kilter.
I understand, Sean, and I agree with you, Sean. You can't project injuries, but there's a lot of ifs. Like people are like, if he stays healthy, if what's the offensive coordinator get his head out of his ass? If once you have so many ifs, you get to the point where you're like, you know what? I think for all these stars to align, it's a pretty tall task for the
All right,
coordinator.
well, let's see if you
listen,
all I'm saying is they can win one more game than last year.
Yeah,
I'm
and I'm not
or
attacking you, man. I don't want us to agree on every single team, or this wouldn't be a very fun show. Real quick, Razzle Dazzle says, "Why are you shitting on other people's teams? We lost the Cardinals." So listen, first of all, we haven't gotten to the Bears yet. For all you know, we're going to come out and say the Bears are going to win 2 games. Second of all, man, these are all projections. I mean, I'm not saying. If you ask me, are the Cardinals a good football team in the NFL? No, I don't think the Cardinals are a good football team in the NFL. But Sean and Jason do. That's fine. That's fine.
9 wins. I don't think it's the Cardinals.
Sports
in the
are all
playoffs,
projections.
Not a good team.
That's what it is. It's all projections. All you can do is project. It's all projections.
We'll revisit this during the football season because I think that's going to be a lot closer this year than you think.
Kyler can't see Marvin.
I agree with that. I don't think he could see him. I agree with that. I know he's probably being facetious, but I think you're right. I think 5'9" quarterbacks. It's on this chat right here. Marvin won't beat McBride in targets. Kyler can't see Marvin. How can he throw it to him? I agree with you, man. I've never seen a good 5'9" quarterback outside of Drew Brees. And people always bring up 1 when I say, hey, give me a quarterback under 6 foot who's good. People give me 1. All right, well, if 2,000 have played in the NFL and 1 is good, what is the odds that the other ones are going to be good?
And DJ, I'll tell you this right now, and Kyle can tell you this, there is no one bigger on Trey McBride than myself. I told everyone last year about this guy when everyone was on Laporta and all these other damn tight ends in the league. But I just think Marvin Harrison is a stud, and he's going to be utilized in this offense. Trey McBride may be the number 1 option, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
You guys said it. You guys both said it. How scary is that Marvin Harrison Jr.'s stats are to his dad's stats and his?
Sean, I agree with you. I think Marvin Harrison's a stud too. I think he just landed on the wrong damn team. All right, Sean. Let's go to the next team.
Bears.
Oh,
well, we'll save the Bears for last. Let's go to Miami Dolphins.
We have the Dolphins, and I'm here really quick. They added a bunch of horse shit. Zach Wilson, Ashton Davis, Terrell Dotson.
Yeah, and their best player wants out. Their best player wants to get the hell out of there.
You know, the Dolphins are a hard under for me. They were 8-9 last year. They got worse in the offseason. I don't need to spend a lot of time on them. They're not winning 9 games.
Yeah, you guys, I think it could fall apart really quickly in Miami. I think they could come out and start the season like 1-4 and then just kind of blow it up, get Tyreek Hill the hell out of there. And Sean, I know you said you don't like project injuries, but Tua's probably not going to finish the season. I'm just going to take a guess he's going to get hurt at some point. I don't think the Dolphins are capable of winning 9 games. Not a chance in hell. No, I have the Dolphins as the under. And it sucks because I like Mike McDaniel and I think the Dolphins have talent. I just don't think they're capable of putting it together.
All right, I'm going to tell you this. I'm under, and I'm only going to give you one reason. That's it. Their key additions for me, and that's when I stopped my analysis. Their top offensive line additions this year were Larry Borum and James Daniels.
Oh.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you later. Under.
Yeah, Larry Borum's your tackle. You're in big trouble.
Under.
All right, Sean, let's all go to the next team because I hope the chat agrees with us. I think most people do. Miami, T Lions are on the NFC North, says Miami.
Minnesota Vikings. This one's tough for me because
this one's tough for me too.
I think they have the best roster in the division. And I know T is going to probably fire up the chat here and not agree with me. But if we went position by position, I think you would see it's probably
their defensive
front seven is
scary.
deadly.
Yeah, it's
I just don't know about the quarterback position. So for me to say that they're going to catch lightning in a bottle a second year in a row like they did with Sam Darnold.
Under.
I'm going under. This is a tough one for me, but I'm going under.
I'm going 8 games. I'm going 8 wins. You guys, the Minnesota Vikings, since Kevin O'Connell's been the coach, have been a very good team, right? They went 2022 13-4, 2023 7-10, 2024 14-3. I think this season 2025 is a transition for them because they're obviously implementing a brand new quarterback who's never played an NFL snap in his entire life, and he came in out of shape last year. He did not look good to me, and when they were showing him in practice, I don't think he was very good in college. I think Michigan did everything they could to keep the ball out of his hands. I think the Vikings fall back into that like 7-10 range, maybe 8-9. I have the Vikings actually finishing 4th in the NFC North. I know that sounds crazy because they have such a damn good roster, but I just can't trust a quarterback who really didn't play that much in college. They wouldn't let him throw the ball, and he hasn't played a snap in the NFL. Right now, I have the Minnesota. Maybe JJ McCarthy comes out and surprises people, and I'll change my over-under, but right now I have the Vikings at 8 wins, 7 or 8 wins. That's where I got them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You know what? They did add some really good guys. You got Jordan Mason.
Great offseason.
Wolf Reese, Ryan Kelly, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. But we need to really focus on, I think, their losses. Now, forget about Sam Darnold. I know it's important because you got J.J. McCarthy. We don't know how he's going to do. They also lost tackle Cam Robinson, guard Dan Feeney, Jonathan Bullard, Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffith, Cameron Bynum. You know, they lost a lot of guys. And last year, which is why I think they bolstered their defensive line, the Vikings blitzed a league high 45.7% on early down dropbacks this season, which is like 4.5%, 5% than the next guy, the Buccaneers. Despite that high blitz rate, the Vikings only generated a pressure rate of just 37.9% against those dropbacks, slightly above the league average. So they didn't really weren't that successful. And if you drop their average down to attempts down to average, they're even worse than that. On third downs, the Vikings blitz on just 31% of the dropbacks, making them one of just 4 teams to blitz more on early downs than on third down: the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Bears. Now, the Broncos were very successful. The Steelers always are. The Bears, I don't know. I think there might have been a lot of blitzing going on with the Vikings simply because they just weren't that good and they figured volume was better. I think that their defense improved, but their secondary is bad. And in a division where there's some pretty decent quarterbacks, that might be a big problem. If you add in J.J. McCarthy being a literally unknown, we don't know what's going on. This is, for me, the real test year for Kevin O'Connell and how good he is. If Sam Darnold is really good and J.J. McCarthy is not, how good is Kevin O'Connell? End of story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's move on. The Pittsburgh Steelers, you guys, I don't think we should spend much time on them because obviously if they add Aaron Rodgers, it's a completely different story. Right now, I have them at the under, and I have them at 8 wins, which would be the first time in Mike Tomlin's history he's ever had a losing season. But unless they add a quarterback, I just don't see how Mason Rudolph could carry this team to 9 wins. I don't see it. I'm sorry. But if they add Aaron Rodgers, that changes immediately. I got them over the 8.5. But right now, with no quarterback there, and now DK Metcalf really being the only weapon to throw the ball to a pretty bad quarterback to begin with, the fact that they traded George Pickens put him in a really bad spot. I just don't see the Steelers winning more than 8.5 games. I'm sorry, Sean.
I'm with you. I'm with you guys. I mean, if Rodgers was there, I'd probably have them over. But
maybe
right now, their defense,
well, not much. Yeah, not much.
Not much, but I probably have him over. I'm under. I just wrote under on here because I don't really want to talk about the Steelers that much. I think they have a good running back room. I like Warren. I like Caleb Johnson. I like DK Metcalf, but who's under center? How's that team going to function? Right now, it's Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph. So,
Yeah, and you guys,
so
and you
They'll
notice,
still win 10 games and make the playoffs, though.
yeah, and you know, and if you notice the theme here, we're all taking the teams that have question marks at quarterbacks of the under.
Right.
And honestly, I'm with DJ. Aaron gets killed when they play Chicago. I hope he does. And I know everyone says, "Oh, this is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Fine, we're sticking to the Chicago Bears." I put my name on it right now. He could be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to come to Chicago, and the Bears are going to light his ass up. And hopefully his final year in this league, and we don't have to look at his ugly face anymore. The Bears take that win.
Right,
They
Sean.
draft Will Howard, dude. He's not like
Sean, there's your
terrible.
perfect transition. Where do you got the
Well,
Chicago
here,
Bears?
guys. We did it just 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago, we did this, and we had the Bears in between 9 and 10 wins. So we've done this for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yep.
I don't need to dwell on it too much. I'm taking the Bears and the
Yep.
over. I think they have 9 wins on this tough schedule. I think they'll figure it out. I don't know if they can get 10, but things are going to click the second half of the season. They'll tough out a couple early wins. I think they're going to win week 1 to get us started against Minnesota on September 8th on Monday Night Football. And from there, we'll see where it goes. But I think there's 9 wins for the Bears on the schedule, and 9 and 8 would make me very happy. A very happy
Yeah.
winter for this Bears fan.
I agree with you. I'm going to take the Bears. I had the Bears at 9 wins when we did this 2 weeks ago. And if you guys want to see why we think the Bears are going to have 9 wins, you can go back and when we did their schedule release, that show is still available. I think the Bears have 9 wins. I think this team gets better as the season goes on. I love Ben Johnson. We just talked about the Minnesota Vikings and that defense, how good they are. Minnesota Vikings have, since Brian Flores has been there, have given 30 points up 7 times. Ben Johnson's responsible for them. I think he knows this division well. I think the Bears are going to be a better team than they think. And you know what? I also love this comment by DJ Prophet here. Corey Wooten all over again. He's referring to Corey when Corey Wooten slammed him on his shoulder on that freezing cold Minnesota Vikings. They were playing at a college stadium, I believe, then. That pretty much ended Brett Favre's career. I would love to see the Bears do the same thing to Brett Favre, but I mean, to Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to.
Razzle Dazzle has them at the under 8 wins.
Yeah, you know we're all pretty close, right?
That's fair.
8, 9, that's pretty close. It's not
Listen,
like we're way off.
here's
It's
a
not
quick
like
stat for you guys.
Whoa, 8, 9 wins. I got him at 8.
Here's a quick stat for you guys. I got the over as well because we went through it before, but 10 games decided by 7 points or less last year for the Bears. They lost 7 of those games. If you turn those games around and you basically have a 12-5 record.
Yeah, you're going to win a couple of those games this year.
Okay.
I don't think
here.
And to your point, T, to your point here about the depth, I don't think we know where the Bears' depth is because there's a lot of young players. There's a lot of developing players. Like we talked about Bill Murray, who's still developing. Karan Amagaji, who's still developing. You know, you got Trapilo, who's going to be developing. You have Luther Burden. You have, I think, a little bit more depth on this team than what
on the
giving
defense.
the Bears credit for.
The defensive line got a lot more depth, which is huge for the Bears because they couldn't stop the run. And the Bears are going to stop the run this year. So the Lions can't just run Jahmyr Gibbs up the middle for 5 yards every single play.
Not going to happen.
Going to be different games this year for sure. I'm excited, guys. All these NFC North games are going to be really fun to watch. Right, Sean, let's move on.
We have a very, very big one here. So there's another, I think, 8 teams on the 9.5 here.
Let's just rip through them.
Yeah, let's just start plowing through these. So we'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm taking the over, guys. I think the Bengals make the playoffs. I think Joe Burrow, you guys already know I say Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP and Jamar Chase is going to be the offensive player of the year. I think the Bengals offense, those games they were losing when they were scoring 50 points last year, I think they win those games this year. It's not very often you just score 50 points and lose the game. I think they've turned those into wins this year, and the Bengals end up with 11 wins this season.
It's all about defense. I'll take the over because it's the Bengals and they can score points whenever they want. They re-signed all of their offensive talent. Will Trey be there? Who knows? But I'm taking the over.
For the Bengals, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to have them at 9 and 8. Tough division. The defense was their detriment last year. They did absolutely nothing to shore up that defense. They lost 2 games when scoring 50 points.
Oh, Sean, they drafted defense.
Yeah, they drafted defense, and that takes time. That takes time. I don't have any faith in this defense until they show me they could stop somebody, and they didn't. They spent $0, and they're trying to get rid of Trey Hendrickson. If Trey Hendrickson leaves that defense, forget about it. They're going to lose 7 games where they score 50 points this year. So For right now, I'm just going to leave them at 9-8. It's a tough division. I guess they could get a couple of wins versus the Steelers, but those games are always tough because the Bengals and Steelers absolutely hate each other. I don't know. I want the Bengals. You know how I love Joe Burrow. I want them to be better, but I need them to show me something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the defense is going to be good, but I think the Bengals offense this year could break records. I really do. I think
you know what? It could have broke records last year, and it wouldn't help them win games.
No, like last year, he had
2 games where they scored 50 points.
Last year, he had 4,900 yards. This year, I'm going to put him at 5,100 yards. I mean, I think all their numbers go. I think Jamar Chase can win the Triple Crown again. All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos, guys. Over 9.5.
I have the Broncos. Over because I'm going to coming up here when we talk about the Chargers. I'm going to have them slightly under. I love what Sean Payton's done with this roster. I love this team. I love this makeup. Can Bo Nix continue where he left off last year? I personally do believe so. I was big on him as well on our fantasy show coming into the season last year, Kyle. He was my pick to click as the rookie. Obviously, Jaden Daniels was a little bit better, they said. I think he's going to continue to grow. That Cortland Sutton, who's the other receiver they got there? They short up their running game. I love the Broncos. I love that defense. Good luck trying to score on them. I got them over.
I'm over as well. They're my sleeper to actually win this division. They get the 15th, so middle of the pack schedule-wise, strength of schedule. Here's their additions. Evan Ingram, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, the safety, really good safety. They drafted Jahdae Barron, really good guy. RJ Harvey, Pat Bryant, Savion Jones. They had a really good draft. Here's their losses. Zach Wilson, Javonte Williams, Cody Barton, and punter Riley Dixon. That's it. Every member of the Broncos' primary offensive line combination, Bowles, Powers, Wattenberg, Miners, or McGlinchey, allowed a pressure rate that ranked within the top 5 at their position this season. The only line in the NFL to do that. The Bowles, Wattenberg, and Miners allowed a single lowest pressure rate at left tackle, center, and right guard, respectively. The 4th time since 2018 that at least 3 teammates have led the league in a given season. Their offensive line is ridiculous. Their coaching is ridiculous. They have gotten better. I don't know how good their quarterback is, if it's him or it's just the system, but this team is firing on all cylinders. They got better. They lost nobody. I don't see how they aren't like a forerunner to maybe compete and maybe win this division.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Basically, all the things you guys just said. You talk about Sean Payton's had 5 losing seasons in his 17-year career. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He had this team at 9-8 last year. They made the playoffs. I think the Denver Broncos are only going to get better. I actually got them at 11 wins. And Jason, you're right. I think this division is going to get very bunched up here, and it's all going to come down to the last 2 games of the season to see who wins this division. I think Sean Payton's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think Bo Nix is a very good player, and I think Denver Broncos get better. Green Bay Packers.
Peyton and Reed. That's going to be a fun chess match, my friends.
Yeah.
The Packers. I have the under. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I just don't think they did enough. I didn't think they were that good last year. I still think that my boy. What the hell's his name? I'm trying not to say it. I still believe this to be the truth. And I think the Packers and Vikings will finish below the Bears and the Lions in this division. I don't have to speak too much about them. So
they're just not good, dude. I think they're on the decline. And I'm not saying this just simply as a Bears fan. Let's break it down. First of all, they do have a very tough schedule, right? They're not that far behind the Bears with the 6th hardest schedule. Their additions are McCole Hardman, Aaron Banks, Nate Hobbs, and then in the draft they added Matthew Golden, Savion Williams. Not really like, you're not running around bragging about that. They lost Eric Stokes. They lost their center, Josh Myers. They lost a great tackle in Andre Dillard to the 49ers, by the way, who always seems to just pick dudes up. They're a run-heavy team. I think Josh Jacobs' 22 touchdowns it's in since 2022 is second only to Derrick Henry, which is pretty impressive. But Derrick Henry had 41. So, that's really rare company there. They're going to run the ball. They really don't have an option. I don't think they improved enough in wide receiver. I don't think they improved at all at defense. I think at this division, they're going to find themselves at the very bottom. So I'm taking the under, and I don't even think they win maybe 7 games this year. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. I'm going to put them right at 8 or 9 wins, somewhere in there. I think this division is going to be competitive. They're all going to win more than 8 games, but I think all three of the Bears, Packers, and Vikings will have tough times making the playoffs with the rest of the NFC and the way it's shaped out. I think Green Bay Packers did not do much. They didn't do anything in free agency at all, almost nothing. They didn't do enough in the draft. I just don't think this team's much better than it was last year. I think they had some lucky times last year. They should have lost against the Texans. The Texans were missing 2 of their best players. Should have made the playoffs last year. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to be on the outside looking in, under 9.5 wins. Sean, the Houston Texans.
Houston Texans, I have as an easy over. They play in a very
I don't think we got to talk about this, guys. The Texans got absolutely hammered by injuries last year. If they could stay healthy in any way, shape, or form, this team is getting over 9. This is the best team in this division. This division sucks. They could go 6-0 in their division.
They did a really good job in free agency and trades with Kirk. They got Cam Robinson, Sheldon Rankins, Braxton Berrios. I like what they did. They were already a good team, and I'm with you, Kyle. If they stay healthy, they could sweep this weak division that they're in. I like the Texans over 9.5. I actually thought they should have been in the 10.5.
Sean, I like
easy money.
I like the sweep. I do. It's the only team I'm going to say that about in the NFL, but I like them sweeping that division. That division.
Oh, 100%, dude. They added Jaden Higgins, Jalen Nolan, the tackle Ariante Irsay. They, of course, Christian Kirk. You said, Sean, Trent Brown, their tackle. I think they got better on defense too with C.J. Gardner, Johnson. Derek Stingley. They signed, and the division sucks. They got better, and the division sucks, and everybody in the division pretty much got worse. Maybe except for the Jaguars. They're going to run away with this division. They're like Kansas City. I think Kansas City makes it to the playoffs every year because of how easy and shitty their division is. This is them.
The Chargers. I have the Chargers. This is so tough because I want to pick them to get 10 wins. This division just irks me. But I'm going to keep them at 9-8. They could very easily go 10-7 in this division. It's going to be a coin toss. I think they're going to give the Chiefs everything they can handle. I think the Broncos and Chargers are going to give everything they can handle to each other. It's very tough, but I'm taking the Broncos with the over. I have to take one of these teams with the under. So it's going to be the Chargers for now. And nothing against Harbaugh, but Justin Herbert, for everything he's done well, hasn't showed me enough. And I know Bo Nix is younger than he is in the league. I just like the makeup of the Broncos team as a whole. Their defense is elite, where the Broncos or the Chargers have a very good defense. Just I don't think it's as elite as the Broncos. So I'm going to take them one step below. I'm going to keep them at 9-8. And I'll probably be wrong on this one, but who knows?
Yeah, Sean, it's just a really tough division, to be honest with you. I took them as a push here. They're not my underdog. Like, I was literally thinking the same thing you are. They're not my under in this division. It's just so hard. I got the Raiders and the Chargers as a push just because, well, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean, I guess you don't ever really know, but I still think the Broncos are going to win that division. So where does that leave the Chargers? I don't know. And that unknown is why I'm going to just stay off of them entirely and not bet them at all.
I'm taking the Chargers over, guys. This is going to be I think this division is going to reset the record for the best division in football history that the NFC North set last year. I think the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs are all going to finish the season with double-digit wins for the first time in a very long time. The 3 teams in the same division have done that.
Mark it down.
I think the Chiefs, and the reason that people are like, well, how could you say that if the Chiefs are 15? I don't think the Chiefs are going to be 15-2. I think they're going to be like 11-win team. I think all 3 of these teams could be 10, 11-win teams. I think they're all really. I think you're talking about 3 of the best coaches in the NFL in this division. I mean, 3 of the top 8 coaches in the NFL in this division. And I think all 3 of these teams are going to finish with double-digit wins. And I think the Raiders are going to have, like we said, 8 wins. So, I mean, this division is going to set the record for the best division in the history of football. That's just me personally. Maybe I'm way off, but right now that's where I'm on the Rams.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you, Kyle. This is very hard for me to take the under 9.5 because I think they can be 10-7. I just, oh man, you know what? I'm changing it. I'm going over. I'm taking it with 10 wins. I just changed it. I just changed it. I have a hard time. I have a hard time taking them at the. I'm so torn on this.
Yeah,
one.
Sean, you got Lab McConkey going to second year game, and then you add Trey Harris, and you still have Clinton. I mean, their offense is much better. And then you added one of the best running backs in the draft. Who could end up being the best running back in the draft? Nobody knows. Yeah. And then you have one of the best coaches in the NFL when it comes to running the ball and playing defense. I just don't see. And the same can be said about the Broncos and Chiefs. I think all three of these teams are going to be very, very, very good football teams. Are very tough to beat, and I think they're all going to double-digit win.
Dude, the number's too accurate for me from Vegas. That's why I want to stay away from it. That's a trap. That's a trap.
When it comes to the Rams, I have the Rams as an over. I think they're going to win. I think the Niners and the Rams are going to battle for this division. I think it's going to be close, but I actually think that the Rams are going to cruise past this 9.5. I think they're an 11-win football team. Personally, they are stocked. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the league. The only thing that stops them is if something happens to Matthew Stafford.
And Puka Nacua has to be on the field.
Devontae Adams is there, and I think I
know, but when they had one receiver last year, they were in big trouble, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't Devontae Adams, and I know Devontae Adams is a little bit older, but Devontae Adams is a game changer, and he's an elite wide receiver even at his age. He put up the numbers last year in a weak offense. I love this Rams team as a whole. I love Fisk. What's the other kid?
Jared
Verse.
Jared Verse is great.
I just bought 3 of his football cards.
Yeah, we got to speed up a little bit here, but yeah, I got the Rams over 9.5 as well, man. They're a playoff team for sure.
They're a 10-win team.
Very similar to the Buccaneers.
Sean McVay has got 8 career playoff wins as a head coach, which is most in Rams history. Real quick, Don Shula, 10, John Madden, 9 are the only head coaches who have more playoff wins before turning 45, despite the fact that McVay doesn't turn 45 until 2031. I'll take the over.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am also taking the over. I think the Buccaneers have the best offense in the NFL outside of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Buccaneers are going to be a playoff team. They're definitely winning that division. No offense to the Falcons, because I do like the Falcons. I think they're on the up tick, but I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the best team in that division. I think they're going to win it easily.
I'm with you on the over on Tampa Bay. Love that football team, and
Baker Mayfield, man.
I give a big heart to Baker Mayfield. Exactly. I love that dude and want nothing but success for Mr. Baker Mayfield. Of course, unless he's playing the beloved. But outside of that, I got the Bucs as the over.
I'll take the over. Baker is the third player in NFL history to have at least 4,500 passing yards and 40 passing touchdowns with a completion percentage higher than 70%. He's better than people think he is. He 106.8 passer rating. Take the over. He's a stud.
Yep, 100%. That's the second best offense in the NFL outside of the Bengals. You had Bucky Irving, Rashad White. Bucky Irving is second year Rashad White, and then you had Emeka Egbuka to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan. God, that team they're going to be tough to stop.
They're really good, dude.
Guys, I'm going to go under on the Washington Commanders. I think a lot of things went well for the Washington Commanders last year. I really do. I think that team got a lot of luck. They were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL. I think that Jaden Hagan. I keep drawing a blank here, but the Washington. Ultimately, I think that they just played out of their minds last year. I think this team had one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. I think it's going to be much tougher for them this season, and I think I don't know why, but I think the Washington Commanders are going to finish with 9 wins on the dot.
I'll say this. Go back to the end of their schedule last year, and when you talk about luck, they wrapped up that schedule with a no quarterback in Dallas, no quarterback on the Saints, a rookie making his debut in Michael Penix. You had the backup in the 36-33 game with the Eagles. They played in their last 7 weeks, they played 6 either new starters or backups. They're not going to have that luck this year. That defense was absolutely atrocious against the Lions. The blueprint is right there. Run it right up their ass, and you're going to have success. They did nothing to shore up that defense. I'm taking the under on Washington this year.
100% agree with both of you guys. I'm on the under. The Commanders allowed 4.2 yards per carry and minus 10 rushing yards over expected when loading the box. That means more defenders than blockers. They were still giving up 4.2 yards.
Yeah, and they got rid of Jonathan Allen.
They got rid of Jonathan 5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
When not doing so. In the postseason, they've loaded the box. They loaded the box 36.7% of the time and have allowed 45 yards on 11 rushes when they did that. They even gave up 257 yards on 37 rushes without loading the box. They are terrible, 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 terrible against the run, and they did nothing to help it. They lost Dante Fowler, Jonathan Allen, safety Jeremy Chin. They didn't get better. They got worse. We were telling, dude, Kyle, we were talking about this the whole time. Adversity, adversity, adversity. Here it comes, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and you know what? Jaden Daniels was terrible in the middle of the field last year. People are going to start to notice that stuff. They're going to start pitching on the outside a little bit. He's going to have to throw in the middle of the field. He's going to throw in interceptions. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a worse year than he did last year. I'm telling you, I just don't think that the Washington Commanders are going to make the playoffs this season. I think that's too good of a Cinderella story for me for the Commanders to make it back to back. Sean, the Detroit Lions 10.5. This is going to be easy for me. I think the Detroit Lions are still the best team in the NFC North. I think the Lions are the only team that finished with double-digit wins this season in the NFC North. I have them at 12. I think the Detroit Lions are going to hit that over easily.
I agree. I don't have them at 12. I have them at 11, one less, but that's splitting hairs. I still do think the Lions win the division. They win I believe this will be their fourth straight NFC North. It will be their last. I give them, I'll crown their ass one more time. Rest in peace, my brother. I'll give them the over, and I'll just wrap this up. I'm taking the Niners and the over as well, both teams. I love what the Niners have done. They showed up their weakness. They showed up the offensive line. They've done a lot of things. I love that offense. I love Pearsall this year. I love Ayuk. I love Kittle. Christian McCaffrey possibly being healthy. James Jordan coming into the draft is a decent backup. I love what the Niners have done. I trust Shanahan. I trust that team. They're going to compete with the Rams for that division. I'm taking the over on both of these squads.
Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers are the ones to watch out for, man. This is the team that everybody kind of forgot about because they had one bad year. Like, guys, they had one bad year, and everybody's like, oh, the Niners suck. Like, dude, they have Kyle Shanahan. He's probably right now, he might be the best coach in the NFL. Oh, yeah, and Ricky Pearsall is my sneaky fantasy pick of the year, guys.
Hey, you stay away from Ricky Pearsall, mother effer.
The guy got shot and walked into the hospital.
But he's missing football practice because of a pulled hammy. All right, take it easy.
All right, Jason, go ahead, man. Sorry to cut you off, bro.
What you got?
Listen, I'm over on the Lions. The biggest X factor for me on the Lions is, and the only thing that would be keeping me away from any more than maybe 11 wins or 12 wins, is they lost their entire coaching staff. But Hutchinson is back. I think the offensive line play can be good. But out of nowhere, they lose Frank Ragnow. I mean, they lost Kevin Zeitler, Frank Ragnow, and Ed Zadarius Smith. I mean, there's some key losses there on that team, so we can't discard that. And as far as the 49ers are concerned, I got them on the under, guys. I know they signed a lot of guys, but it's basically for me all about their three key players. It's about Brock Purdy, the quarterback, of course, George Kittle, and of course, Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, they're over. If he's not, they're under. That's the end of the story.
I don't know, man. I like that running back they drafted a lot. Sean, let's go on to the next teams here.
The last category, and we all know who's in here: Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, and the Philadelphia Eagles here. Can I just say, I'll go over Ravens, over Bills, over Chiefs, over Eagles. I don't really need to explain anything about these teams. We know exactly who they are, what they are, who their quarterbacks are. They're the best teams in football. Over. Yeah,
this is easy for me, guys. I'm taking all four for the over because the Ravens and Eagles are the best rosters in football, respectively, in the AFC and NFC. Eagles best in the NFC, Ravens best in the NFC. And right now, the Bills and Chiefs have the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. So all four of these teams are going to hit the over. I think the Chiefs are only going to win 12 games, but I'm still taking the over.
Yeah, I agree. I could see it being 12-5 or maybe even 13-4, but yeah, they're going to be right there. Yep. They're going to be right there.
All four of these teams are over. The Buffalo Bills it's kind of a cakewalk in that division there. Like I said, I think the Jets suck. The Patriots are a year behind. The Buffalo Bills have Josh Allen. It's no doubt for all of that. I'm actually going to bet all four of these guys on FanDuel or DraftKings. Please God, nobody get injured on these teams, but unless the Bears make the playoffs. But I'll tell you all four of these teams injured.
I'm on the over on all of them except for the Chiefs, and I'll tell you why. Number one, we talked about it ad nauseum here today alone, but this division has gotten so much more difficult, and I don't think that the ability of the Chiefs and the depth of the Chiefs has gotten good enough to keep up. Now, they had a really good draft. Don't get me wrong. You got what? Josh Simmons, Omar Norman-Lott.
They got that Patrick
Ashton
Mahomes
Gillette,
guy.
Jalen Royals. That's all great. But the Chiefs had just 23 total yards and 1 first down in the first half of that Super Bowl. That's the fewest of any start in Patrick Mahomes' career, and maybe the worst start in any Super Bowl fucking game ever.
He's pissed off, Jason.
Okay, great. That's great. He's always got a Kermit-sounding voice and a limp in his step. They got the 11th hardest schedule and maybe the toughest division in football now. For years, for decades, they floated on a terrible division. When the Broncos were good, they were terrible, but so was everybody else. Now the Chiefs have to contend with a really tough schedule, and let's see how good they really are. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. But I'm going to take the under at 10.5 because I think they win 10.
Yeah, Jason, all 4 teams on the list, the Chiefs are the ones I'm the least confident in, but I still think as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, they're capable of winning 12.
Can I say something, guys? Remember last year when everyone was like, "Oh, the Chiefs aren't that good. They're going to take a step back. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that." And every week we're watching them like, "God damn, they're going to win again. God damn, they're going to win again." Until they don't, I'm not touching them. I'm leaving them alone because
and they keep making Super Bowl. I mean, dude, it's Patrick Mahomes, man. It's Patrick Mahomes.
They lost both and DJ Humphries on the offensive line. Their offensive line got worse, guys.
Yeah, listen, and like I said, that's why we talked about with Caleb Williams 1,000 times, guys. He's got to get to that Patrick Mahomes. That's the echelon. You know what it is? It's the tide that lifts all boats. They've lost Tyreek Hill, and people are like, the Chiefs are going to suck. They lost Tyreek Hill. What did they do? They won the Super Bowl last year. People were like, the Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl this year. There's better teams in the AFC. What did they do? They went to the Super Bowl. I'm with Sean. Until they stop making people look silly and they stop winning games, I'm going to keep on taking them to win games.
They're going to stop making people look silly because their division isn't crap anymore.
No, their division's
it's
good.
really good, but they were good last year. Yeah, division's good last year.
They were decent last year. You had 2 teams rebuilding, 3 teams rebuilding, and now they're rebuilt. One of them is fully operational and like a Death Star.
So Jason, what do you got the record in their division?
The
Kansas City Chiefs
10.
In their division. No, 10. And they're like how many wins against their division?
I think best case scenario they split. So I think they're 3-3.
Really? I got them at 4-2.
I probably have them at 4-2.
Yeah,
you split with those 2 guys and probably
one win away.
Yeah, I mean, and Dustin, I wasn't referring to you, but there was a lot of people last year who said that the Chiefs were going to take a step back. The Chiefs weren't the same, and
because you hope for it.
They just couldn't.
Yeah,
score,
because it's what they want.
Dude,
Jason nailed it. It's because people think with their heart and not their brain. People don't want the Chiefs to be good, so they just say the Chiefs are going to be good until they stop winning. And Andy Reid has never done that. Andy Reid just wins all the time. That's all he does. Oh, yeah, and by the way, he has the best quarterback on the planet playing for him. Until they stop winning, Jason, I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong, and they win 10 games, and I can start picking them to have worse seasons. But until they do, I got the Chiefs just dominating the NFL like they always do. I think there's going to be a lot more close games for the Chiefs, but I trust Andy Reid to pull those close games out.
If they don't win this year, it's going to be really hard for them to win in the future because Travis Kelce is on his way out. A couple of the linemen are, they're in their end of their window.
They got Noah Gray. I hate to say it, but Noah Gray's a damn good football player. Not to mention they got Jalen Royals now. They got Xavier Henry. They had a great draft for sure. They got what's his name, Rashee Rice coming back. They drafted Brashard Smith. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has never had as many weapons.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the best offenses he's ever had. Yeah. And you guys, would you agree that those 4 teams on that list are the 2 best rosters in football and the 2 best quarterbacks in football?
Yeah.
Agree with that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think the Ravens and Eagles are the best rosters in football, but Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are the best quarterbacks in football.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Joe Burrow is like a close 3 there.
Burrow's right. He's in the conversation.
Right
there.
Yeah,
for sure. But just the fact that he couldn't carry his team to the playoffs last year and Josh Allen, remember what people were saying about the Bills last year, guys? Remember those conversations?
No wide receivers.
People wrote people are like the Bills are going to win 6 games. I'm like, are you? They have Josh Allen. They're not winning 6 games. They have Josh Allen, guys.
They're going to win 6 in their division.
He's Moby Dick in a goldfish bowl.
Well, we have to put a bow on this thing, guys.
Let's do
I
it.
appreciate everyone in the chat sticking
Thanks
around.
for sticking around.
Yeah,
Hey,
thanks, guys.
DJ Prophet, you are the freaking man, dude. You kept it hot all night.
Yeah.
Your singers are the best. We
Yeah,
got to get
T-
you on a show or something.
T as well, man. T as
Yeah.
well. T as
He
well.
is firing
man.
away too, man. I appreciate you being a Lions fan, sticking around in here. I always love when you bounce in. You're a lot better than your buddy Don Burr. I can tell you that, man.
Yeah, and I think I speak for everybody on this podcast too when I say if a team in the NFC North has to win the Super Bowl outside of the Bears, I think we all would rather
I'm
be
happy
the
with the
Lions
Lions.
than the Vikings and the Packers.
100%.
Hey, we appreciate you, DJ. We appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. One more thing. before
Anything
we
you
got-
want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go.
Fuck yeah.
That'll
Yeah, one more time because you know why? It's that time. I love when everyone starts throwing the FGB in the chat. You guys, we're adults. Write it out. I don't care. Hey,
It's just
don't
faster.
forget.
FGB is faster.
Hey, don't forget tomorrow, Dustin and Brandon will be back on the bare minimum, burning the midnight oil. And if you don't have an opportunity to catch them tomorrow night, catch them on your way to work, man. They're firing up some good shit. I don't know what they're going to be talking about, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Don't forget about the Northside 9 this Saturday at noon. We're going to recap this Cubs week, which they did take one on the nose today. They left our offense at the hotel. They lost 2-0, but hopefully they bounce back and win this series of the nation's capital tomorrow. But until then, we love you all. Thank you all so much. Everybody in the chat. Until next week. Until tomorrow night with Dustin and Brandon. We love y'all. Bear down.
bear down.